Chapter 674, Opportunity for Marine Creatures. When Feng Lingtian heard what Xiao Yu said, he flared. His facial expression switched from fiery redness to a pale-looking color. He stared at Xiao Yu, gritted his teeth, and could not help but rage. "Let me tell you, lass. I'm ready to fight." Feng Lingtian raised the spiritual sword in his hand and bellowed angrily. "Fine." Xiao Yu narrowed her eyes and cracked her ivory whip before she observed Feng Lingtian with ill intentions. "I tell you, don't," Feng Lingtian said with mixed expression. "Don't attack my face and butt." "Hee, isn't this the wicked prince from Huang Cauldron World? Why is he acting like a coward now?" Xiao Yu made a swift move and flicked her ivory whip at him. Feng Lingtian was aghast as he hurriedly lifted his spiritual sword to block the incoming attack. Pack! However, whips were not weapons that could be countered by usual weapons. Whips focused on twining and whipping. The spiritual sword was totally ineffective when it came to defending against whips. Wind sword circulating shield. Seeing that his weapon got wrapped around by the whip, Feng Lingtian released his sword while another 9 spiritual swords surfaced beside him. When the 9 spiritual swords spun in his surroundings at rapid speed, it formed a wind shield for defense. "Humph, do you think you can defend against it?" Xiao Yu snorted, and the tip of the ivory whip wriggled like a poisonous snake, darting straight at the spiritual swords. Xiao Yu's bones were far more compelling than any level 12 spiritual weapon, which were overkill for her opponents of the same level regardless of defense or attack. Damn! The ivory whip wriggled through the wind shields and attempted to wrap around Feng Lingtian's body. He could not help but let out a scream as he staggered back to dodge it. Pack! However, at this time, the ivory whip transformed into devilish shadows, aiming for his butt area. "I said, don't hit that place." Feng Lingtian growled furiously. "Humph." Without a change in her expression, Xiao Yu flicked her whip again, aiming for his back. Darn. Feng Lingtian was in an embarrassing state. With a stagger, he immediately ran away and hid. "Do you think you can run away from me?" Xiao Yu asked sarcastically. "Try chasing me." Feng Lingtian gritted his teeth. As he moved, wind-like shadows surrounded him as he flitted away. Xiao Yu remained unwavering. She swung her arm and swept out her ivory whip. "Trying to catch up with me? That's impossible." Feng Lingtian ground his teeth with more and more shadows appearing around him. Instantly, a few hundred shadows were all over the place. Her. Xiao Yu was slightly stunned as she swept her whip at one of the shadows. The figure could not dodge it in time, and vanished under her whip. Shadow drift is a battle technique developed by my father for fleeing. "It's impossible to catch up with me." Feng Lingtian called out as he drifted again with figures covering more than 10 kilometers. "Oh really?" Xiao Yu did not believe his words. She moved her hand, and her whip flicked even harder at those figures. After she struck down more than 10 figures, he was still nowhere to be seen. Seeing Xiao Yu getting anxious, Feng Lingtian was even more proud than ever. "Ha, I told you so. I am formidable. You'll never be able to catch up with me." Xiao Yu was agitated. "Brother, do you have any item to track this fellow down?" Wang Xian slightly paused when he heard Xiao Yu. With a smile on his face, he swung his arms and tossed a level 12 water dragon ball to her. "Brother? How do I use this?" asked Xiao Yu inquisitively. Roar. At this time, a roar was heard from the dragon ball. The dragon ball transformed into a 10-meter marine divine dragon while he roared into the sky. Dark clouds gathered instantly in the sky as rain began to fall. Her. Xiao Yu was slightly stunned as she saw the rainwater passing through all of Feng Lingtian's virtual shadows, which were wind-attributed. A cold smile surfaced on her face. "Now, let's see where you can hide. You cheat. You called upon your guardian. Upon seeing such a situation, Feng Lingtian was horrified as he exclaimed. We took turns. Now it's fair. There was slyness in Xiao Yu's eyes as she waved her ivory whip around. Each flick of her whip landed on Feng Lingtian. This. The people from Yellow Sky Immortal sect below the mountain twitched their lips. All of them were dumbfounded. The wicked prince of the Huang Cauldron world was getting whipped by a girl in the real world. And he had no means to resist it. His entire body swelled by 2 times, losing all its previous chic. He was the son of an immortal, a supreme talent of Huang Cauldron. This might turn out to be a good thing. Feng Jinqing threw a glance at Wang Xian and heaved a sigh of relief instead. A smile surfaced on his face. The beating that Feng Lingtian took might help them to avoid a crisis. Upon hearing the shrieks from the surroundings, Wang Xian shook his head with a grin. Since when did Xiao Yu have such a hobby? This was the first time he'd seen this. The rest of the girls, including Lan Qingyue, were smiling from ear to ear. Dragon King, we got a message from the Dragonians. There is another spiritual energy waterfall from the sky not far away from our dragon palace. At this time, Mo Qinglong appeared beside Wang Xian and reported to him. There's a spiritual energy waterfall in the sea. Wang Xian froze for a moment before radiance flashed in his eyes. Yes. Mo Qinglong nodded. Great. There was a tinge of excitement in Wang Xian's eyes. With a spiritual energy waterfall in the ocean, this might be an excellent resource for the entire Dragon Palace and marine race. Qingyue, Lingxiu, Ajaya, Elder Fang, will be leaving soon. Are you guys going back? Wang Xian nodded with force as he swept his glance at those people from Yellow Sky Immortal sect. He drew his lips slightly. Another spiritual energy waterfall emerged from the sea. This could be a great advantage for the marine creatures. We will need to start planning for the Dragon Palace too. Xiao Yu, we're heading back. Wang Xian shouted to Xiao Yu, who was in the air, whipping Feng Lingtian with excitement. Yes, brother. Xiao Yu nodded and snorted coldly. I'll bash you up whenever I see you next time so you can remember my prowess. Feng Lingtian gritted his teeth as he trembled. Seeing his swollen body, tears welled up in his eyes. For the first time, he'd been beaten so badly. Just you wait. I'll take revenge. Feng Lingtian lowered his head with determination as he clenched his fist. Hee hee. Xiao Yu chuckled with contempt. She flitted to Wang Xian and grinned. The 9 cauldron worlds will soon descend. In the future, the immortal sects will dominate the entire underworld. Since the underworld forces are weak, you can join any immortal sects for protection. Practice hard from now on. Wang Xian looked around at the martial artists of the underworld and reminded them. As soon as he finished his words, he nodded to Sui clan and Xiao clan before he hovered away. Behind him, Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the rest of the dragon sect members followed. Wang Xian had to make full use of this opportunity for the marine creatures. Chapter 675, The Dolphin Princess, 1. The sea was vast and boundaryless with ample resources. In the legends, there were various immortal islands where the immortals would live. Since ancient times, the sea was always filled with mysteries and attractions. On this very day, a pink yacht was steering on the sea without any particular destination. Melodious musical notes sounded and lingered in the surroundings, creating a perfect symphony with the sounds of the waves. At the edge of the pink yacht, a young girl in a white dull dress was standing on the deck on the 2nd floor. Before her, a beautiful zither was placed. As melodious music sounded from her zither, she looked at the surroundings of the yacht with radiant smiles. Around her, several hundreds of dolphins were following the yacht. From time to time, dolphins would leap out from the water and look in the direction where the girl was. Since our Missy rescued this pod of dolphins from the herd of tiger whales, they have been following our Missy. Furthermore, the pod of dolphins has grown to over a few hundred. Look! There are pink and white dolphins. They are simply too cute and beautiful. Those are pink bottlenose dolphins, while the white dolphins are the Indo-Pacific humpback dolphins. Both species are relatively rare dolphins. These dolphins know about gratitude and have been following our Missy. Moreover, they will jump out of the water from time to see our Missy from a distance. They are really cute. On the lower deck, a group of 4 to 5 girls stood looking exhilaratingly at these dolphins. Swoosh! At this moment, a pink dolphin jumped out of the sea beside the yacht. The 2-meter dolphin jumped over a height of 12 meters towards the girl on the second level. Ding ding! The notes from the zither stopped suddenly as the girl was surprised to see the pink bottlenose dolphin. It had jumped over 12 meters to come to the side of that girl. The girl flicked the zither lightly and a ball of seawater surrounded the dolphin and suspended before her. Weng weng! The pink bottlenose dolphin opened its mouth and a unique voice came from it. Huh? What did you say? You are bringing me to a place. The girl looked at the pink bottlenose dolphin with surprise as she extended her hand over to touch its head. Weng weng. Dolphins communicated through sound waves. However, at this very moment, it seemed capable of expressing something. It was extremely amazing. The girl was also taken aback. A dolphin jumping over 12 meters high and even talking to her. That was truly strange. Follow you? Hearing the voice, the girl was shocked. The dolphin nodded its head brightly and wiggled its pectoral fins, signaling its desire to land. The girl nodded, flicked her fingers lightly on the zither and sent the dolphin into the sea. Weng weng. Several pink bottlenose dolphins and Indo-Pacific humpback dolphins in the sea looked towards her before swimming in a direction next to the yacht. Several hundreds of dolphins were leading at the front. Follow the pod of dolphins. The melodious voice of the girl was conveyed to the lower deck. Yes, Missy. On the lower deck, the female servants responded immediately. They steered the yacht and followed behind the pod of dolphins. How are these dolphins so smart? How did I understand a little about the sound waves they emitted? Moreover, what's their purpose of asking me to follow them? The girl in the white dress was astounded. If Wang Xian were here, he would definitely recognize her. Tang Yin Xian from the Heavenly Sounds sect. However, since the Heavenly Sounds sect had been annihilated, Tang Yin Xian had returned home and kept herself distanced from the matters of the underworld. Even when the spiritual energy waterfall appeared in the underworld, she didn't think about exploiting this opportunity. As she was feeling bored about her dry life, she brought a few female servants with her to the sea to relax. Several days ago, she had saved a pod of dolphins from a herd of tiger whales. After curing them of their injuries, this pod of dolphins had been following her. Moreover, what truly shocked her was that this pod of dolphins was extremely intelligent. In fact, one could even say that they were rather strong. To be able to jump 12 meters in a single leap. That was not any weaker than a level 4 or 5 martial artist. These dolphins know about gratitude and are pure and cute. I can spend some time in the sea with them. Tang Yin Xian showed a faint smile, placed both of her hands on the zither and started playing. Melodious musical notes could be heard once again. Weng weng. At this moment, the dolphins in the sea seemed to be responding. This cheered Tang Yin Xian up. However, what she didn't notice was that when the group of dolphins made their sounds, the surrounding water was changing and moving in the opposite direction of before. Dolphins were the smartest creatures in the sea. The dolphins in the vicinity of the Dragon Palace had learnt about cultivation after being through a session of Tao preaching. In fact, some unique dolphins with great chance encounters had already become rather strong. The entire sea had started to change a little after the Dragon King preached Tao to the marine creatures. At this moment, Tang Yin Xian suddenly felt a gush of spiritual energy. She lifted her head slightly, looked ahead and was filled with surprise. In the air some distance away, white-colored spiritual energy fell from the sky. Snow-white energy was falling on an island. The entire sea island was completely shrouded in the spiritual energy waterfall. In fact, in some areas, the water shrouded in the spiritual energy waterfall was a few thousand meters away from the island. The entire region was just like an immortal region on the sea or the immortal islands in the legends. This is a spiritual energy waterfall. There's a spiritual energy waterfall here. Tang Yinshuan's jaw dropped slightly as she revealed an exquisite look of shock. Weng Weng. At this moment, she could hear the voices of several dolphins. Several pink bottlenose dolphins had turned around and were facing her. I'll be heading over now. Tang Yinshuan hesitated for a few seconds before grabbing her zither, jumping off and diving towards the sea. Weng Weng. A dolphin exposed its back and the intention was clear. Tang Yinshuan chuckled, landed on it and said, "Thank you, cutie." Weng Weng. A joyous voice came from the dolphin below her. Several hundred dolphins led Tang Yinshuan towards the spiritual energy waterfall. Once they entered the region shrouded in the spiritual energy waterfall, the pod of dolphins was in ecstasy. Weng Weng. At this moment, Tang Yinshuan realized that there were several hundred additional dolphins around this region. Several pink bottlenose dolphins and the Indo-Pacific humpback dolphin seemed to see her as their leader as they surrounded her. Weng Weng. You are asking me to dive down with you? Weng Weng. Alright, lead me down then. Gulp. Two pink dolphins swam to the sides of Tang Yinshuan. Suddenly, they released a bubble from their mouths that surrounded Tang Yinshuan's head. I'm good. Let me do it myself. Tang Yinshuan chuckled upon witnessing it. She had practiced water attribute cultivation arts after all. She would be fine even if she dived into the sea for several days. Seeing the cute dolphins surrounding her, Tang Yinshuan felt extremely lighthearted. Spending time with simple creatures like them could help her forget any worries or displeasure. Chapter 676, The Dolphin Princess, 2. There are actually mountain ranges under the sea, and the spiritual energy waterfall is pouring into them. Many underwater creatures are gathered around here too. Tang Yinshuan came to the bottom of the sea as she surveyed the surroundings with a face of surprise. There were all kinds of marine creatures rushing toward the spiritual energy waterfall. The marine creatures, after enlightenment, came close to the spiritual energy waterfall out of instinct. Buzz! More than 400 dolphins swam around and gathered at a mountain in the sea. These dolphins surrounded her in the center. To Tang Yinshuan's surprise, these dolphins began to cultivate. That's right. Cultivate. She could sense the dolphins guiding the spiritual energy into their bodies. Most surprising of all the dolphins gathered and released an ultrasonic wave that contained a unique kind of energy. This energy guided spiritual energy into their bodies. Instantly, a vast amount of energy entered their bodies. Tang Yinshuan was dumbfounded as she quickly looked to another side. She noticed many marine creatures were cultivating, absorbing the spiritual energy. This was shocking to her. Did the living creatures in the sea know anything about the art of cultivation? Sensing spiritual energy was circulating around her, Tang Yinshuan set aside her curiosity and sat beside the dolphins. All the dolphins were packed together while she sat on top, just like a dolphin princess. She sat cross-legged and began her cultivation. The spiritual energy waterfall was an ultimate chance encounter. Ding ding. Suddenly, the zither beside her let out a crisp and clear sound. She opened her eyes, feeling stunned. She sensed ultrasonic waves rippling above her, forming a special kind of control power. Sound had power too. Even though it was not part of the 9 attributes, sound could kill. Heavenly Sound sect only knew a little about the use of sound. The rest was dependent on attributes. Take Tang Yinshuan, for instance. She was water attributed, combining water energy with sound as a means of combat. But the true combat capability still came from water energy. The sound only played the role of interference. However, The sound that the dolphins gave off could affect physical items, albeit small. She seemed to have some understanding as she placed her hands on the zither, playing special music that merged with the sonic waves of the dolphins. Instantly, Tang Yinxian and the dolphins' speed of absorbing spiritual energy sharply increased. Bouts of spiritual energy swamped their bodies. Their cultivation levels were boosted at a frenzied speed. After some time, she sensed a fierce aura around her as ferocious sharks swam over to her. The pod of dolphins panicked while Tang Yinxian remained unwavering. She closed her eyes and placed both hands on the zither, striking the incoming sharks with water ripples. Growl! The pod of sharks scattered in horror. The dolphins let out a thrilling sound as they looked up at Tang Yinxian before they continued their cultivation. Boom boom. Not knowing how much time had passed, one could hear battling coming from above while a terrifying aura spread out, striking fear into some marine creatures. Tang Yinxian sensed the domineering aura and had a slight change in her expression. Luckily I got them to leave first, or else. She let out a sigh of relief and continued her practice. At this time, a few thousand people were gathering around the middle of the spiritual energy waterfall. 50-odd middle-aged and old men in peculiar clothes stood at the center of an island while white-colored spiritual energy fell upon them. Hayak hayak. Right in the middle was an elder with a gray poisonous snake coiling around his neck. The viper stuck out its bloody red tongue that was half-meter long while the old man revealed a sinister smile as he stuck out his tongue too. His tongue was also of equal length as the viper and looked horrible. The old man then licked the tongue of the viper with his tongue. The scene looked extremely creepy. Beside him, more than hundreds of corpses were lying around on the floor. He craned up and stared at the spiritual energy waterfall, rolling his tongue. This chance encounter belongs to the creepy snake group. Don't think you can occupy it. Dashi, you had your chance encounter in China earlier on. Now. Ha, you don't even dare to set foot there. An old man who was wearing a red metallic mask, with a red coat, spoke with a sarcastic voice. This is not solely your chance encounter. Hayak, Alian, you can go to China and have a taste yourself. Both of you stop it. The three forces will divide this place equally. Any objections? At this time, a sharp woman's voice came from opposite the old man with a metallic mask. This woman was wearing extremely revealing clothes, exposing her baby skin. She looked extremely bewitching. The frightening things were her heads. She had two, one of which was extremely ugly, and the other one was gorgeous. Dual head Yen Mei, you need to ask Dashi if he has any objections, said the old man with the red mask. I want the spot at the bottom of the sea. Who dares to fight with me for it shall die. Dashi twisted his body like a snake as he rose into the air. My people, grab this opportunity and begin your cultivation. He let out a sharp voice. Who? As soon as he finished his sentence, the sea snakes suddenly sprang out of the sea. Each of them was about 3 meters long, with shirtless people sitting on them. There were mixed genders, and their bodies were wound by snakes. Almost 500 people filled the entire region. 500 creepy snake palace guards trying to take over the marine region. Wouldn't that be a waste? A flame rose from the head of that red-masked elder. The flame formed a human figure, staring at Dashi with a pair of blazing eyes. Not at all. Hayak. You can also get your guys to cultivate with my men in the water too. It doesn't matter. Dashi wetted his lips. With a swift movement, he came to the sea right beside the island. With his triangular eyes, he stared at the red-masked elder and dual-headed woman. I welcome you to join me down here. Hee hee. A flick of flame flashed on Alian's mask as he turned to the dual-headed woman. Let's take the center as the dividing line, and we'll each occupy half. Fine. Once the three domineering forces finished their negotiations, they sat cross-legged and began their cultivation immediately. They didn't fight. Not so fast. We just made a huge commotion. Someone will be here soon. Even if there's no one, we can surely attract those immortal class beings in the sea. Ha, I hope they fight. How wonderful to have immortal class corpses. The group of people did not realize two pairs of bloodshot eyes were staring at them from above. Their eyes were filled with blood and appeared maniacal. The spiritual energy waterfall was an ultimate chance encounter to the cultivators in the real world. Similarly, it was an excellent chance encounter for the Cauldron world too. However, it was a terrible catastrophe to Tang Yinxian and the marine creatures in the ocean. Chapter 677, The Premature Deaths of Marine Race. Whoosh! At this moment, savage aura diffused into the sea below the spiritual energy waterfall and alerted the marine creatures in the surroundings who were cultivating. More than 500 members of the creepy snake group rode on sea snakes into the sea. Their eyes were locked on the densely populated sea creatures in the surroundings, but they did not make a move. Master! At this moment, the crowd of creepy snake group members greeted respectfully as Dashi entered into the sea while flicking his long tongue. Despite being in the sea, their voices weren't affected. Hee hee. There are so many marine creatures around. Dashi commented plainly. The eyes of the gray poison snake lit up a red light. It moved and charged towards the marine creatures around to devour them. When it opened its mouth, the seemingly average-size mouth could surprisingly extend to 2 to 3 meters. Its mouth looked just like a bottomless pit. Hee hee. They have absorbed some spiritual energy. My baby is going to get a sumptuous meal. Dashi was pleasantly surprised as he looked across the densely packed marine creatures around him. Yes, master. Members of the creepy snake group made creepy smiles and patted the bodies of the sea snakes below them. The next moment, these snakes charged towards the surrounding marine creatures and started devouring them. They were terrifyingly quick. Not a single sea snake out of the hundreds was weaker than the inborn realm. And the martial artists that were on the sea snakes were similarly not any weaker than the inborn realm. Swish swish swish. The sea snakes attacked various marine creatures at a frenzied pace. This resulted in all the creatures in the region fleeing away in fear. Huh! At this very moment, Tang Yinxian, who was cultivating, was alarmed. She opened her eyes right away and looked in shock in the direction before her. Shit! Seeing countless marine creatures fleeing frantically, her expression changed drastically. Get out of here! Quick! She stood up and shouted at the surrounding dolphins right away. The pod of dolphins had also picked up the scent of blood as they wiggled their bodies frantically. Run! Tang Yinxian moved her fingers across the zither to make a rushed note that was transmitted to the dolphins. Each dolphin turned around immediately and fled in the opposite direction. Grr! However, she suddenly heard a scream and a sea snake appeared before them. A naked middle-aged man was sitting on the sea snake. Oh! There's a beautiful lady here too. Hee hee. Who would have expected a beautiful lady to be cultivating here? This pod of dolphins seems to be under your control. Ha! It's been a long time since I've met a beautiful lady. Moreover, it's a dolphin princess. Lust gleamed in the eyes of the middle-aged man. He extended his hand to touch the black liquid at the edge of the sea snake's mouth, licked his fingers and said, Hey, pretty. Come here. Shit. What is this? Seeing the middle-aged man riding the sea snake, Tang Yinxian was flabbergasted. She moved her arm, placed both of her hands on her zither and started playing. A water arrow shot towards the middle-aged man instantly. Don't even think of escaping. The middle-aged man showed his perverse excitement. Pulling both of his hands back, a snakeskin-like object covered his entire body. At the same time, 2 poisonous fangs appeared in his hand. The sea snake below him charged towards Tang Yinxian at a terrifying speed. Weng weng. Arg! At this moment, the dolphins around Tang Yinxian made a unified piercing sound which reverberated towards the middle-aged man and the sea snake as an attack. The next instant, a blood-curdling scream came from the middle-aged man. That sea snake was also shivering and remained stationary on its spot. What's happening? A nonchalant voice sounded and Tang Yinxian could sense 7 to 8 powerful existences charging towards her. Run! We've got to run quickly. Tang Yinxian was astonished. She turned around, placed her hands on the zither, and started playing and launching water waves to the 8 middle-aged and old men sitting on the sea snakes behind them. There's a beautiful girl on the dolphins. Catch them. Ha! When the members of the creepy snake group saw Tang Yinxian, they charged rapidly ahead as though they were sharks that had picked up the scent of blood. Inborn-level sea snakes were exceptionally fast and the dolphins couldn't be compared to them at all. GG. The next instant, 5 to 6 dolphins at the back were attacked by the sea snakes. Their bodies were bitten through in an instant as they fell to the sea bed, vitality slipping out of their bodies. Scumbags. When Tang Yinxian saw a few dolphins being killed, she was infuriated. Water arrow after water arrow was launched towards them. However, the attacks from Tang Yinxian, who was just at the inborn realm, were easily avoided. Hey, pretty. Don't run anymore. A middle-aged man lowered his stance suddenly as he made a straight dash towards Tang Yinxian. Tang Yinxian was taken aback. Shifting her arm, she drew the longsword kept within the zither of Hao Zhong and slashed towards the middle-aged man. Bam! I got you, pretty. The middle-aged man withstood her attack with the 2 exceptional large poison fangs in his hands and revealed a sly smile. Tang Yinxian instantly felt pain from her belly. Lowering her head, she saw that the fangs of the sea snake had sunk into her. The next instant, she felt her whole body going numb. Screech, screech, screech. What? Suddenly, the middle-aged man with a sly smile instantly felt as though 10,000 needles were penetrating his ears as his body went stiff. Bam! A pink dolphin that had stayed aside previously had now crashed heavily into his abdomen. Tang Yinxian took the opportunity to stab the spiritual sword in her hand into the body of that middle-aged man. After completing her action, she felt her whole body go numb as she slouched onto the dolphin below her. Weng weng. That pink bottlenose dolphin let out a shrill cry. Instantly, several dozen dolphins stopped and attacked the 7 members from the creepy snake group frantically. Kill! Kill all these dolphins! A middle-aged man growled in fury. Swish swish swish. A short distance away, other members of the creepy snake group rushed over immediately after picking up on the commotion. The marine creatures here seem to understand cultivation arts. Don't let even a single one escape. They would be greatly beneficial for our sea snakes. A deafening roar sounded in the sea. The crowd of creepy snake group members licked their lips and bloodthirst was evident on their faces. These dolphins are so intelligent. Die now. An old man swung the poison fang in his hand and easily killed 2 dolphins. Run now. Tang Yinxian struggled to grip her zither as she played a note. Screech, screech, screech. When a pink bottlenose dolphin saw its fellow dolphins being killed easily one after another, it turned around, opened its large mouth and let out a bone-chilling screech. Go! Little pink nose. When Tang Yinxian saw it stopping, she was flabbergasted as she struggled to scream. Woo woo. That pink bottlenose dolphin turned around and shook its head slightly at Tang Yinxian before opening its mouth slightly. Around it, over 100 other dolphins had stopped. The next moment, they charged towards the creepy snake group members as though they had lost their minds. Screech, screech, screech. Ear-piercing screeches reverberated as fresh red blood oozed out of their bodies. The fresh blood instantly dyed the water around them red. Tang Yinxian slouched on a dolphin with tears of blood flowing out from her eyes. Chapter 678, Assistance. Tang Yinxian was infuriated as she glared at the back. Hundreds of dolphins had depleted their energy when they released a daunting sonic attack. Their bodies collapsed right away. The dolphins had just started their cultivation, and they were not well versed in using their energy yet. Exploding domineering power like this was a suicide move. Darn, how did these dolphins turn into such wicked demons? An infuriated roar came from the back as the members of Creepy Snake Group suffered massive injuries under the dolphins' attack. The sea snakes floated around motionlessly in the seas, as their brains were dead after being struck by the sonic waves. Kill those dolphins and seize that girl. Check out what secret she's hiding, an elder exclaimed as he gave chase immediately. Seeing the group of people on her heels, Tang Yinxian paled. She forced herself to sit up and strum chords. The sea waves helped to push the dolphins. Buzz. Beside her were Indo-Pacific humpback dolphins with glimmering eyes. They were propelling themselves as they emitted buzzing ripples. The surrounding dolphins used the skills which they had just cultivated and doubled their speed. What amazing dolphins! But it's wishful thinking, trying to escape. For members of Creepy Snake Group sat on the sea snake 1,000 meters behind and exuded icy cold aura like poisonous snakes, giving chase from behind. Tang Yinxian had a slight change in her expression. As she strummed her zither, the spiritual energy in her body was quickly depleting. The toxin in her chest took over her body with numbness. Suddenly, she felt heat embracing her, and her vision was blurred. She could no longer hold herself as she collapsed on the dolphin. Her zither fell off, sinking slowly to the bottom of the sea. To think a pod of marine creatures tried to escape from our pursuit. A member of Creepy Snake Group sped up as soon as he spotted the pod of dolphins and sneered. Trying to escape, huh? The 4 members of Creepy Snake Group sat on the sea snake as it wavered its tail. A stream of water current gathered, and they sped up by 3 to 4 times. Hayak, these dolphins are amazing. Their intelligence is so high that they learned how to cultivate by themselves. 4 members of Creepy Snake Group immediately popped up before the dolphins. As they rode on the sea snake, they swept their cold gazes at them. A bunch of animals. How dare you kill 2 of our members? Go to hell. An old man from Creepy Snake Group hopped down from the sea snake and raised the poison fangs in his hand. A terrifying vortex was formed, exploding all his Dan realm strength. The pod of dolphins exhibited a frightful look as they let out a despairing shriek. Die! The vortex in the hand of that elder grew to a size of 12 meters before he hurled it far ahead. Pack! All creatures with wisdom are the citizens of Dragon Palace. Whoever kills them shall die. Suddenly, an enormous mustard palm descended, wiping out the vortex of 12 meters. Prime Minister Turtle clenched his fist, and that Dan realm expert was crushed into dust. What? The remaining 3 members of Creepy Snake Group changed their expressions drastically as a huge shadow emerged before them. The trio quickly spun around only to see a face that struck terror into them. Behind them, a horrifying monster of 80 meters encompassed them from above. The monster gave off gray energy that seemed to contain incomparable might around him. On that monster stood some people. Amongst which was an eccentric old man with a turtle shell on his back. The 3 of them went into a trance with their minds going crazy. A scary monster of 80 meters and a turtle man with a shell. This. Boom. At this time, however, Prime Minister Turtle swung his arm again, and the enormous mustard palm slammed at the trio. The trio of Creepy Snake Group was killed immediately since they did not have any means to resist it. Buzz! Buzz! When the pod of dolphins saw Wang Xian and his gang, they sensed their aura and emitted sound waves. All of them developed intelligence, and contained spiritual energy within their bodies. Wang Xian looked downward with radiance flashing in his eyes. Dragon King, These dolphins already developed intelligence, and have proceeded to cultivate themselves, Prime Minister Turtle, at the side, said as he stared at the pod of dolphins. Buzz! Several pink bottlenose dolphins let out a shriek again, and a pod of dolphins swam over. The dolphin, which was carrying Tang Yinxian, also swam towards Wang Xian. Dragon King, save her! Save her! A weak voice was transmitted to Wang Xian. Such a cute dolphin. Xiao Yu watched the dolphins with interest on her face. Hey, brother. There's someone on it. Wang Xian nodded his head and waved his arm. The girl that was on the back of the dolphin slowly floated towards him. After Wang Xian took Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the rest back to the Dragon Palace, he ordered all the members of the Dragon Palace to rush over here. Who knew they would meet someone hunting down a pod of dolphins on their way? It's a girl. Lan Qingyue and the girls looked over with puzzled looks. Her. When Wang Xian saw her face, he was stunned as he revealed a quizzical expression. Tang Yinxian. It turned out to be Tang Yinxian. What, Xiao Xian? Do you know her? Seeing his surprised look, Lan Qingyue asked this with curiosity. Yes, I do. Wang Xian nodded his head and swung his arm to hold her body. She's beautiful. Elder Fang was stunned as she took a glance at Wang Xian. The rest of the girls, including Lan Qingyue, also looked at him with suggestive looks. Ahem, we just met a few times. Wang Xian's expression remained unchanged as he placed his hand on her. The Saintess of Heavenly Sounds sect did not meet you just a few times. I remember you gifted her a zither too. Lan Qingyue stared at Tang Yinxian with glistening eyes, and no one was sure how Lan Qingyue had gotten her news. She got some snake and erotic venom in her. Sun Lingxiu commented plainly after some light from Sun Lingxiu fell upon Tang Yinxian. If we were not here, Xiao Xian would probably contribute his body as an antidote to this beauty. Ajaya said with a faint smile. What are they talking about? Wang Xian instilled dragon energy into her body, clearing all the toxins in her body rapidly. Cough. Tang Yinxian opened her eyes and felt nothing wrong with her body. Even her spiritual energy was restored. She was slightly stunned before she turned her head around. For a moment, Tang Yinxian was stupefied as she looked at Wang Xian with surprise. She regained consciousness and asked, Why are you here? Upon hearing what Tang Yinxian had said, Wang Xian felt several sharp gazes looking at him from the surroundings. Cough. Wang Xian cleared his throat and forced a smile onto his face. Yes, it's me. What a coincidence. I never expected to meet you here. Her. Tang Yinxian looked around with doubt and noticed Xiao Yu, Yinxian, Sun Lingxiu, Ajaya, and Elder Fang. When she looked farther, she froze. An old man was carrying a turtle shell, and a 2-meter devil monkey was exuding daunting aura. There was even a clam girl with a huge clamshell. A huge prawn that could stand. And tons of odd-looking, scary-looking marine creatures. Chapter 679, The Might of the Dragon Palace. This is... Tang Yinxian immediately took a look below her feet. That terrifying creature that was over 70 meters huge seemed to be swimming slowly ahead. However, it covered several thousand meters each second. On the back of this monster, there was a group of terrifying creatures. From her perspective, the weakest would be the group of Dragonians whom she knew a little better. They are members of my Dragon Palace. Wang Xian turned to Tang Yinxian and remarked plainly, with no intention to hide it at all. The 9 cauldron worlds were about to descend upon the real world. When the timing was right, he would also reveal the Dragon Palace to the public by announcing their existence. Dragon Palace? Tang Yinxian was a little lost as she looked around her in disbelief. Woo woo. At this moment, she could hear the screeches of dolphins. She turned around, caressed the dolphin who had been carrying her and asked with a gentle voice, are you guys alright? Woo woo. A pink bottlenose dolphin rubbed its face against Tang Yinxian, shook its head and let out 2 screeches. You are saying they killed over 100 of your companions? When Wang Xian heard the pink bottlenose dolphin, his face darkened as he asked the dolphin this. Woo woo. The pink bottlenose dolphin nodded its head and said, Dragon King, those people are so cruel. Not only did they kill our companions, but they also slaughtered all the marine races around them. I'll take revenge for you. A light flickered in Wang Xian's eyes as ruthlessness flashed across his eyes. You can understand them. Tang Yinxian was astonished as she stood by the side and saw Wang Xian conversing with the pink bottlenose dolphin. You could say that they are my citizens. Wang Xian looked towards the dolphin and smiled. The pink bottlenose dolphin poked Tang Yinxian with its nose as it tried to talk to her. On stricter terms, these dolphins are the first batch of intelligent creatures within the region of our dragon palace. Moreover, from the sound waves that it emitted previously, they seem to have entered a rather unique path of cultivation. Prime Minister Turtle was observing the pod of dolphins while pondering about them. If there are intelligent species, we will impart knowledge to them. Even if they can't make it past the Dragon Gate eventually, we still have to guide and restrict them to some extent. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded its head. Since the Dragon Palace would be establishing its dynasty within the sea, it would naturally have its citizens. Ordinary marine creatures wouldn't be considered as their citizens. Only when marine races had their intelligence manifested would they be considered citizens. For marine races that had no intelligence, their deaths wouldn't be significant. However, for marine races that had intelligence, the Dragon Palace would have to step in if they were slaughtered rampantly. In the plans that Wang Xian and Prime Minister Turtle had, the Dragon Palace would only care about the dominance of the seas in the future. Marine creatures wouldn't step onto land and would be restricted from attacking humans. This would result in an isolated sea civilization. Just as the marine races were evolving rapidly, the spiritual energy waterfall would be the greatest encounter for them. However, the marine races were being slaughtered rampantly by humans currently. The Dragon Palace couldn't just ignore it. Not only would the Dragon Palace want to be involved, but they also wanted revenge for the marine races that had been slaughtered. Wang Xian looked ahead and asked Tang Yinxian, are there many martial artists under the spiritual energy waterfall? I don't know. When we are cultivating under the sea surface, a group of foreign martial artists dived into the water directly and started slaughtering the marine creatures around them. Tang Yinxian shook her head and sorrow filled her eyes. The deaths of over 100 dolphins had truly caused her heart to break. From her perspective, these dolphins were even more loyal than humans. In that case, let's just head there directly. Wang Xian didn't question it further. He stood upright while staring coldly towards his 12 o'clock. While standing on the kuan, his eyes flickered. In less than 2 minutes, the pungent scent of blood assailed his nostrils. Lots of marine races are dead. At least 1 billion of them. Although these marine races had no intelligence, they were rather gifted considering that they had arrived under the spiritual energy waterfall in advance. Prime Minister Turtle's face darkened upon picking up the scent of blood from the water. It seems like they are pretty strong. Wang Xian squinted his eyes. A blue and red light flashed in his eyes as he observed his 12 o'clock vigilantly. Balls of energy appeared in his vision. Among them, Wang Xian saw an existence with an image resembling the vast sea within his body. That figure was seated and was absorbing the spiritual energy that had fallen into the sea at a frenzied pace. Immortal. There's an immortal realm existence right ahead. Wang Xian lifted his head and looked towards the mountain peak. It's not just one. There are a total of 3 of them. Dragon King, no matter how many immortals they have, we have to take revenge for the 100 citizens of ours that were killed. Prime Minister Turtle remarked coldly. Naturally. A faint sense of killing intent emanated from Wang Xian's body. Roving Heavens and Roving Sword stepped forward and stopped behind Wang Xian. On a huge koan, Wang Xian and the other 3 Immortal-class Dragon Palace members stood at the very front. Behind them was a group of powerful Dragon Palace members. The 1,000-strong group of Dragon Palace members was starting to exhibit their dominance. The might of the Dragon Palace was now vaguely visible. A terrifying aura shrouded forward. Below the spiritual energy waterfall, countless sea snakes and a middle-aged man sat on the peak of the underwater mountain. The founder of the creepy snake group sat on the peak of the center mountain and had a grayish poisonous snake wrapped around his neck. The poisoned snake rested its head on the old man's head while absorbing the spiritual energy that was falling from the sky. Wang! What horrifying aura! At this moment, Dashi jerked open his eyes abruptly. A blood-red light flashed across his eyes as he looked ahead. What terrifying aura! What's the situation? Could there be other immortal realm existences heading here? Around him, the crowd of creepy snake group members opened their eyes instantly as they looked ahead in shock. Boom! The moment they opened their eyes, they stood up immediately. Even Dashi got on his feet as he stared intensely at the ginormous creature approaching him. His gaze fell on the group of figures on the ginormous creature and was instantly astonished. However, the next moment, he flicked his tongue out gradually and licked his lips. His eyes were filled with bloodlust. Over 70 meters. That's definitely the largest living creature on Earth. They are the ones. Tang Yinxian, who was standing by the side, was infuriated upon seeing the creepy snake group members. The pod of dolphins also screeched in anger. Rest assured. None of them is getting away today. Dragon King, leave this to my devil division. Roving Heavens patted his ear and a golden rod appeared in his hand. He lifted the golden rod up with a strong desire for battle as he remarked. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head. He turned around to face Roving Sword and Prime Minister Turtle. Don't let them get away. Rest assured, Dragon King. After killing so many of our citizens, we would never let them escape from this place. Today, we will have the blood of an immortal for the memorial ceremony of our dead citizens of the Dragon Palace. The blood of an immortal for the memorial ceremony. Chapter 680. Roar. In the sea, the 70-80-meter-long koan was floating quietly in the sea. Its 5 to 6 meter wide eyes were staring at the place in front of it, emitting a fierce light. On the koan, Ao Chitian stood in the front, followed by 800 demon monkeys. This group of demon monkeys only had the strength of the infant realm. They were holding level 12 spirit weapon sticks in their hands. Behind them, the group of demon monkeys stared at the front with blood-red eyes. Ao Chitian slowly raised the metal rod in his hand and roared loudly. Roar, kill. A low roar filled with killing intent was heard. Blood boiled, and demonic chi soared into the sky. The demon monkeys behind him attacked the group of snakes in front of them at a terrifying speed. Ao Chitian carried the metal rod on his shoulder, but he didn't move. His gaze was fixed on the leader of the snakes group, Big Snake, in the middle. An immortal-level existence. Who is that? Big Snake licked his tongue and his triangular eyes revealed a cold expression. There is actually an immortal-level existence. Where did this force come from? He stared at the devil monkey who was attacking them directly, and his gaze swept across the dolphins on the koan. Fighting with me, Big Snake, a beast. A trace of coldness flashed in the snake's eyes. It stared at Ao Chitian and growled in a low voice. Roar, I am Ao Chitian. When the demon monkey heard the snake's voice, his body slowly began to change. Layers of scales covered his entire body, and his fangs were exposed. I will tear you apart today. The demon monkey roared and moved, directly charging toward the snake. Roar. In an instant, the demon monkey's figure increased to 7 to 8 meters, and the cudgel in his hand smashed towards the huge snake. Beast! The huge snake waved its arm, and the gray poisonous snake on its neck turned into a dozen meters in size, and its huge mouth directly bit towards the demon monkey. Roar! Ao Chitian's cudgel directly smashed towards the huge gray snake. The gray snake twisted its body and wrapped itself around the cudgel, crawling towards Ao Chitian along the way. Ao Chitian's expression did not change. When the gray snake's huge mouth bit towards his head. Roar! Ao Chitian suddenly had a burst. The devil chi on his body suddenly condensed into a black devil dragon, and a terrifying dragon's aura directly covered it. The gray snake's body trembled. Dragon's might. Ao Chitian, who had fully unleashed his dragon bloodline, could fully activate his divine dragon bloodline. In terms of combat strength, among those of the same level, perhaps only Ao Jian, who cultivated the Heartless Sword principle, could fight with him. Bang! Ao Chitian's large hand grabbed the giant gray snake and threw it ruthlessly toward the bottom of the sea. Boom! The terrifying power caused a huge wave to rise from the bottom of the sea. Be careful. At this moment, Xiao Yu, Tang Yinxian, and the others, who were watching from the Kuan, saw the huge snake suddenly appear above Ao Chitian's head. The terrifying poisonous fangs attacked his head, and they warned him loudly. Humph! Ao Chitian's ears twitched, and with a cold shout, a tail that was more than 10 meters long swept towards the huge snake. Boom! The terrifying collision instantly caused the sea water within a radius of several kilometers to surge in all directions. What? What a terrifying battle! Tang Yinshuan's eyes widened, and a look of disbelief appeared on her face. The battle before her eyes was too terrifying. Each and every move had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Even the entire sea was surging wildly in the aftermath of their battle. Awe! In the surrounding area, the devil monkeys that were emitting monstrous demonic chi were like the devil monkeys in the chaotic world, tearing apart the members of the Yin snake group. The devil monkeys were considered relatively weak among the few races in the Dragon Palace. Their strength, which was at the lowest level of the Xiantian realm, was completely unleashed. It was simply not something that existences of the same level could withstand. With a body size of 3 to 4 meters, terrifying defense, and powerful strength, they directly tore the members of the Yin snake group into pieces. Water-extinguishing cannonball, you guys deserve to die. Seeing the deaths of his subordinates, the big snake's eyes turned cold. With a wave of his arm, a 100-meter-long water cannonball directly attacked the surrounding demon monkeys. Your opponent is me. Today, I will use your blood to pay tribute to the water tribe that you have killed. Ao Chitian waved his arm, and the 100-meter-long devil chi directly dispersed the water cannonball. Then, he waved the stick in his hand again. Damn beast! The snake stared at Ao Chitian with an embarrassed expression. The sea water within a few kilometers of him surged violently, and a sea python condensed from water energy gathered around him. Each sea python was several thousand meters in size, and they exuded a terrifying power. Roar! Ao Chitian stood at the bottom of the sea. The demonic dragon formed from demonic energy rose from his body, and it stared coldly at the giant snake above his head. Kill! The sea python that was several thousand meters in size charged at Ao Chitian, and the demonic dragon above Ao Chitian's head met it directly. The blue sea python collided with the black demonic dragon. Boom! The terrifying collision of energy instantly caused the mountain peak at the bottom of the sea to fall to one side. At this moment, on the island at the side, the island had a circumference of about 5 kilometers. On the island, 2 powerful top-tier forces were sitting cross-legged and cultivating. The old man with the red metal mask and the 2-headed woman instantly stood up when the terrifying energy came from below. There's an immortal god fighting. It's the big snake. That guy is fighting with another immortal god. Hee, it might be a powerful creature from the bottom of the sea. The big snake is really unlucky. It would be interesting if it died. The two people let out gloating smiles. Their bodies slowly floated in the air and looked down. Boom! However, at this moment, the entire island suddenly split open and sank to the bottom of the sea. Damn you, wasting our time. The two-headed woman, Yen Mei, let out overlapping and sinister sounds. With a wave of her arm, the area where the islands split open actually overlapped under the mighty force. The range of the battle between the two immortal gods is too large. All of you, move aside. The old man in the red mask said in a deep voice to his subordinates. Boom! At this moment, a huge snake with blue energy all over its body rushed out of the sea. At the same time, Ao Qitian, who was 7 to 8 meters in size, also came out of the water. You too, come and help me kill this beast. The huge snake looked at the old man with Yenmei's 2 heads and the red mask and growled in a low voice. Hee, why are we fighting? What does it have to do with us? The two of them smirked and hovered in the air, looking at each other mockingly. Hee, they're fighting. Don't worry, as long as we can get 1 or 2 immortal god-level corpses, we'll be lucky. If we both get injured, that'll be even better. Hee, the appearance of Yu Ding, the immortal god's corpse, is good news for us. In the air, 2 pairs of blood-red eyes stared downwards. Their eyes were filled with greed, excitement, and bloodlust. Chapter 681. Dragon King, this snake's strength should be close to that of a middle-level immortal. Ao Qitian alone cannot take it down. In the ocean, Prime Minister Gui watched Ao Qitian and the snake's battle and said with a twinkle in his eyes. Dragon King, I'll go. With Ao Qitian and I working together, we'll definitely be able to kill him. Ao Jian, who was standing at the side, pleaded to Wang Xian. Go. Wang Xian nodded his head slowly and looked at the top of the island. I hope the 2 immortals don't make a move. Otherwise. A hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. Whoosh. At this moment, Ao Jian, who was standing at the side, started to move. He stabbed the long sword in his hand at the huge snake that was a few thousand meters away. A terrifying metal sword that was 1,000 meters long seemed to pierce through the void as it attacked in an instant. Pooh! The snake that was fighting with Ao Qitian saw the terrifying metal light and its expression changed slightly. It waved its arm and the seawater below instantly condensed into a defensive water shield. However, when it was caught off guard, the terrifying sword light still made it spit out blood. Another immortal god-level existence. The snake spat out a mouthful of blood and its expression instantly darkened. Today, I will use your blood as a sacrifice. Ao Jiandi's figure appeared at Ao Qitian's side, and there was no expression on his face. 2 immortal gods, which faction are you from? The sea water behind the snake rose to a height of 100 meters, and it stood motionless behind him. It was ready to attack and defend at any time, and it looked at Ao Jian and Ao Qitian with a gloomy face. The force that will take your life. Ao Jian said coldly. The long sword in his hand trembled, and thousands of long swords silently attacked him from behind the snake. The snake's face changed drastically. A demon monkey had already made him feel a little troubled, and now there was an immortal god who was not weaker than the demon monkey. Since when were there so many immortal gods? The number of immortal gods in the entire subcontinent was less than 2 hands. We have no enmity. If you want to cultivate at the bottom of the sea, Snake, we'll let you have it. Snake waved his hands, and his entire body was surrounded by the dark blue seawater, which was at least 100 meters thick. You killed more than 100 of my dolphins. Today, I will take your immortal god's blood as a sacrifice. Golden metal swords appeared behind Ao Jian. The densely packed swords covered an area of 1,000 meters. What? Killed more than 100 of your dolphins? Hearing his words, the snake widened his eyes and growled with an embarrassed expression. More than 100 dolphins? That was only more than 100 fucking dolphins. You fucking want the life of an immortal god. Even though the snake had lived for over 200 years, this was the first time it had heard such a ridiculous thing. They wanted to go against an immortal god for the sake of over 100 dolphins? The red-masked elder and the Yenmei two-headed woman who were watching the show were also slightly stunned. That's right, kill our people and die. Roar. 10,000 swords were launched. Ao Chitian roared. With a violent aura, he raised the metal rod in his hand and smashed it with demonic chi. The snake's expression changed drastically. With a wave of his hands, he set up a 1,000-meter defense. A bunch of lunatics. I'm not playing with you anymore. The snake's expression changed drastically. It moved and was about to flee into the distance. Do you think you can escape? Ao Chitian roared and moved his body, leaving behind a terrifying wave trail. He stood in front of the snake and stared at him with his blood-red eyes. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, a long sword silently stabbed toward the snake's chest. Pooh! Ah! Damn it! The snake's expression changed drastically. He lowered his head and looked at the hole in his chest that had been penetrated without warning. His expression was extremely gloomy. The flesh on his body squirmed, and the wound quickly healed. The snake can't escape. If we don't act, the snake might die. The Yenmei two-headed woman and the red-masked old man looked at each other, and their eyes flickered. Snake, give me the 9-spirit snake gallbladder that you nurtured, and I can save your life. The Yenmei two-headed woman's two heads looked at each other, and a cunning smile appeared on her face. I want all the territories of your Yin snake group. The red-masked old man also said with a smile. Okay. The big snake's expression changed drastically. It gritted its teeth and nodded heavily. Okay. The two of you, for our sake, let's forget about this matter. The red-masked old man revealed a smile. His aura shook and an overwhelming aura instantly erupted. In the sky, the clouds turned fiery red and contained terrifying flames. We have saved the life of the giant snake. So, if the 100 or so dolphins of yours are dead, so be it. The face of the Yenmei two-headed woman started to blur. The island that was on the verge of collapsing beneath them started to levitate. The island that was a few kilometers in size was controlled by her. An immortal-level powerhouse was really capable of destroying the world. As expected, he still made his move. In the ocean, Wang Xian, who was standing on the Kuan, heard the other two foreign immortals making their move. A hint of coldness flashed across his eyes. Dragon King, let me exercise my body. Prime Minister Gue smiled and reached out to take the turtle shell off his back. The turtle shell was flickering with a yellowish glow. In that case, all three of you stay. Wang Xian's eyes were cold as he moved his body. Roar! A dragon's roar came from Wang Xian's mouth. The dragon's roar exuded a terrifying majesty. The shell of the turtle in Prime Minister Gui's hand emitted a light as he attacked the two-headed woman directly. Boom! 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 Standing in the sky, the red-masked elder and the Yenmei two-headed woman, who were emitting a terrifying aura, released their auras. They stared menacingly at Ao Jian and Ao Chitian. However, a power that terrified them came over and their expressions changed slightly. There are also immortals. 2 of them. Their expressions changed drastically. Madman, you only killed more than 100 of your dolphins and you actually sent out 4 immortals. What kind of force are you? The Yenmei two-headed woman let out a sharp roar and let out a sharp voice. Dragon Palace. Wang Xian rushed out of the water and opened his mouth. A deep blue water sword flew towards the red-masked elder. Buzz. At the same time, Prime Minister Gui's turtle shell emitted a strong earthy yellow light. The island that was suspended in the air for a radius of 5 kilometers collapsed immediately. The soil on the surface of the island attacked the Yenmei two-headed woman. "You bunch of lunatics, get lost." The Yenmei two-headed woman's figure moved, and she opened her two faces. With a wave of her arms, she directly scattered the island. Boom! 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 In the sky, terrifying fireballs directly fell from the fiery red clouds and met the azure water sword. "My subordinates only killed over 100 of you dolphins. Don't go too far." The big snake saw a total of 4 gods, the face revealed a ferocious look, berserk roar. Chapter 682. The giant snake went completely berserk, and the surrounding seawater rolled like a terrifying tsunami. "If you want to kill me, I'll make you pay a heavy price." The giant snake's expression was ferocious. He stuck out his terrifying tongue, and when his tongue landed on the surface of the sea, it made a sizzling sound. He wanted to kill over 100 dolphins. This wasn't fucking killing your entire family, it was just over 100 dolphins. For the first time, he heard that he was going to fight an immortal god to the death for such a ridiculous reason. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian's eyes showed a hint of seriousness. The snake was going to fight with its life on the line. Once an immortal god was going to fight with his life on the line, even if they were not careful, they might die together. Die! Ao Qitian held the metal rod tightly in his hand and attacked ferociously. Ao Qitian, who was filled with demonic energy, did not care whether he was going to risk his life or not. "Shadowless, shadowless." Ao Jian also shouted coldly. The air trembled as sharp swords that could not be seen or made any sound slashed towards the giant snake. "We don't care about this matter anymore." Boom! In the sky, the old man wearing a red mask was emitting a fiery red light. In the sky above him, balls of fiery red clouds were hurling terrifying fireballs towards Wang Xian. A solemn look appeared in his eyes. Going against a terrifying force that had 4 celestials was definitely a terrifying thing. If he knew that they had 4 celestials, he would definitely not take advantage of them and help the snake. Right now, they only wanted to escape as soon as possible. Since we are enemies, then we are enemies. The flesh and blood of 3 celestials. A hint of coldness flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. Since he had already made his move, he would not let go so easily. With the flesh and blood of the 3 immortals, if it was absorbed by the dragon pool, the energy contained in it might be able to allow a member of the dragon palace to advance to the immortal realm. Wang Xian's body trembled. The entire ocean instantly calmed down. It was as calm as a mirror. Whoosh! 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 However, at this moment, countless water swords shot out from the ocean and attacked the red-masked old man in the sky. The collision of water and fire. Humph! The masked old man looked extremely embarrassed. With a wave of his hands, the entire 1,000-meter-wide fiery red cloud fell into the ocean. Boom! 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 A terrifying explosion was heard. The blue light and fiery red flames covered a radius of several thousand meters. "I will remember what happened today." The old man moved his body and wanted to escape into the distance. Water prison. Wang Xian shouted softly and chased after the old man with the terrifying seawater. "Don't go too far." When the old man saw Wang Xian chasing after him, his 10-meter-long body and his water-blue majestic face made him look extremely embarrassed. What was this terrifying monster? Was it a divine dragon from China? Roar! Wang Xian swung his dragon tail and his entire body glowed with a brilliant blue light. Below him, the seawater within a 10-kilometer radius rose into the air and completely enveloped the old man. Waterfall water blast wave. Flaming giant body. The masked old man looked extremely embarrassed. With a jolt of his body, he turned into a 50-meter tall figure. The fiery red mask exuded a terrifying aura as drops of flaming liquid dripped towards his body. You forced me to do this. The terrifying flame giant turned the surrounding seawater into fog and spread over a radius of more than 10 kilometers. The water from the great waterfall clashed against the flame giant. At the side, walls appeared out of thin air to block the Yenmei two-headed woman. Prime Minister Gue held the turtle shell in his hand and stared at her with a wise gaze. Damn it, do you think you can keep us here? The two-headed woman stared at Prime Minister Gue with a sinister look. Her two heads were extremely ferocious. The terrifying battle between immortals and gods erupted in an instant. Wang Xian, how could he turn into a divine dragon? Tang Yinxian was standing on the kun below. She raised her head in shock and looked at Wang Xian, who had turned into a divine dragon in the distance. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Bloodline. Lan Qingyue smiled at Tang Yinxian. Bloodline? Tang Yinxian muttered to himself. He recalled the records about the European continent. There were cultivators in the European continent who could transform into werewolves, bats, and demons. This was also a bloodline. Immortal God, immortal God. I didn't expect his current strength to be so terrifying and powerful. Tang Yinxian muttered as he scanned the surroundings. Lan Qingyue, Ajia, and Sun Lingxiu looked at each other and didn't say anything. Sun Lingxiu was the kind of girl who didn't like to interfere in anything. If Tang Yinxian really had anything to do with Wang Xian, she wouldn't mind. Ajia was an interloper to begin with, so she didn't have the right to express her opinion. Only Lan Qingyue sighed and pouted, then shook her head carelessly. 7 immortal gods attracted 7 immortal gods. That's a divine dragon, the legendary divine dragon. I didn't expect there to be a divine dragon in the ocean. That divine dragon's body is simply too perfect. If it could be refined into a slave, it would be the most perfect and powerful mount. Haha, that divine dragon, I must get it. 7 immortal gods. I didn't expect there to be so many immortal gods in the real world. We can only sit back and reap the benefits when both of them suffer heavy losses. Otherwise, we wouldn't be a match for so many immortal gods. No matter what, I'm definitely going to take that divine dragon as my mount. Ha ha ha, let's fight, let's fight. In the end, both sides suffer heavy losses. What a pleasant surprise. What a pleasant surprise. The 2 pairs of blood-red eyes in the air were filled with excitement and madness. They were watching the battle below. However, Wang Xian and the rest did not feel that someone was watching them. Damn monkey, get lost. At this moment, the giant snake let out a horrifying scream from below. He used both hands to block Ao Qitian's cudgel, but at this moment, 5 soundless metal swords pierced through his body, causing his expression to change. Whoosh! 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 He opened his huge mouth, and his tongue suddenly grew crazily, piercing through Ao Qitian's chest in an instant. Roar! Ao Qitian roared, grabbed his tongue, and fiercely pulled it over. Ah! The snake screamed again. If you want me to die, you won't have it easy either. Burn the immortal god's blood and explode. The tongue in Ao Qitian's hand instantly turned red and exploded. Boom! The entire sea area exploded at the same time like a million tons of bombs. Roar! Ao Qitian roared angrily, and his body was covered in wounds. Die! Ao Jian's expression changed, and he instantly turned into a golden swordfish that was about 10 meters long. Using his body as a sword, he directly slashed at the snake. However, at this moment, the expression of the snake, who was far more miserable than Ao Qitian, changed drastically. Extremely cold, extremely hot, explode. He stretched out his 2 arms, and fresh blood merged into the water energy, causing another terrifying explosion. Chapter 683. Boom! 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 A terrifying explosion sounded, and the seawater was stirred up. The sky changed color. The blue light, the fiery red light, and the earthen yellow light made this area seem like hell on earth. Any living creature within a 7 to 8 kilometer radius would be affected by the terrifying shockwaves. The members of the Dragon Palace and Xiao Yu who were standing in the ocean were surrounded by a faint layer of gray energy. The most terrifying part of the Kun was its defense. It relied on its terrifying physical body to travel the 9 heavens and hunt down the top bloodline existences in the world. Even though this Kun had only been nurtured for a few months, it was already beginning to show its prowess. When the Kun reached level 13, its strength would receive another terrifying increase. At that time, it would even be comparable to Wang Xian. A level 13 Kun could fly in the sky. At that time, a Kun that was more than 100 meters long would definitely be the most terrifying creature on Earth. Ah! At this moment, a shrill sound was heard. Ao Jian's terrifying sword passed through. Half of the snake's body was split in half and fresh blood flowed into the sea uncontrollably. The bright red blood contained a powerful energy. On Ao Jian's tail, there was a long wound. Roar! At this moment, a sky-shaking roar was heard. Ao Qitian, who was covered in blood, raised the metal rod and smashed it at the snake with terrifying power and demonic chi. Ao Qitian's attack became even more violent and fierce under the condition of being injured. As the metal rod smashed past, the snake's expression changed drastically. Its tongue grew out again, stirring the air above it to form a water-blue defense. The blue defense contained his blood, making the defense even more terrifying. Boom! As the metal rod smashed past, the blue defense quickly cracked. Stab! At this time, Ao Jian attacked again. The entire 10-meter-long sword body was completely restrained in golden light. Not a single golden light was emitted. It was like a terrifying giant sword from ancient times. No! The snake widened its eyes and looked at the restrained golden sword in horror. Pooh! The long sword passed through and the snake's body was completely split into 2. Bang! Ao Qitian grabbed the upper half of the snake's body with his terrifying palm and squeezed it hard. A terrifying sound was heard once again. Kill the immortals and slaughter the gods. There are still 2 more. Ao Qitian let out a violent sound. Without any hesitation, he attacked the flaming giant in front of Wang Xian. Ao Jian was still in the shape of a sword. It was like a sharp sword that did not require control as it slashed towards the 2-headed woman. You are seeking your own destruction. If you dare to fight with us, I will fight to the death to keep you alive. The red-masked elder's expression changed drastically when he saw Ao Qitian's attack. He roared furiously. Roar! What greeted him was Ao Qitian's terrifying metal rod and monstrous demonic aura. Roar! Wang Xian roared as well. His body circled in the water of the waterfall. Terrifying water dragons gathered around him and attacked the flaming giant directly. Damn it, you guys are courting death. The old man in the red mask had a gloomy look on his face. He was a little terrified. However, he was more furious. Streaks of blood patterns gradually appeared on the flaming red mask. Boom! The flames intensified once again. The terrifying arms swung towards Wang Xian. One in front and one behind. Wang Xian circled around the old man in the red mask and arrived behind him. His dragon head turned red immediately. He transformed into a flaming divine dragon. Roar! He opened his dragon mouth and bit towards the elder in the middle. Ah! The red-masked elder ignored Wang Xian completely. The violent flames smashed towards Ao Qitian directly. Ao Qitian, who was already severely injured, hurriedly dodged to the side. Go to hell! When the red-masked elder saw Ao Qitian dodging, he clawed with his arm. His arm, which was nearly 20 meters long, grabbed onto Wang Xian's body. Hee. In an instant, the flames on Wang Xian's body intensified as well. Chapter 684. Boom boom boom. The entire ocean went berserk. A battle between immortals and gods, each move contained a terrifying energy that could destroy the world. Especially two immortals who were fighting with their lives on the line. Raging flame hibernation. The 50-meter-tall flame giant was now only about 40 meters long. The red-masked old man in the middle was filled with malevolence and killing intent. Both of his hands slammed heavily into the void. His arms were decreasing at a terrifying speed. The flames in his body were burning, causing the flames within a radius of 7 to 8 kilometers to burn. Boom! 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 The flames exploded in the air. Wang Xian had a serious look on his face. He clawed at the fire giant's chest with his dragon claws. The flames couldn't cause much damage to it. However, at the same time, the masked old man had protected his body well after being injured once. The terrifying flames made Ao Qitian afraid to get close to him. The terrifying attack that was unleashed by burning his own life force would cause Ao Qitian's body to suffer a terrifying attack the moment he entered. Ao Qitian was standing on top of the fire giant. He was prepared to deal a fatal blow at any time. If you want to kill me, one of you will definitely die with us. A tragic look appeared on the masked elder's face. You won't be able to last until all the flames in my body are completely burned. Wang Xian waved his dragon claws expressionlessly and attacked the flaming giant once again. At the same time, the flames of both parties weren't able to cause much damage to each other. The only thing they could do was to compare the strength of their physical bodies. After all, the flames of the flaming giant were condensed from energy. On the other hand, Wang Xian's physical body was the body of a divine dragon. His powerful physical body grabbed directly at the flaming giant. Boom! The fire giant raised his terrifying arm and smashed it forward. His arm was even larger than Wang Xian's entire body. With a single strike, a large area of flames on his arm dissipated. However, Wang Xian's body was also sent flying for a few thousand meters. I don't know how long this fellow has been in the immortal realm. Be it his attack techniques or the use of flames, he is simply too powerful. A trace of blood appeared at the corner of Wang Xian's mouth. However, you still have to die. A hint of coldness flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. In the universe, there were less than 3 people who could rival the physical body of the divine dragon. Even if he was injured from the impact, he would be able to recover very quickly if he wanted to. Crack 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 crack. Wang Xian raised his right claw, which was covered by the thick fire liquid. The entire dragon claw turned into 7 to 8 meters in size and charged at the fire giant again. Take this. At the same time, the demonic aura around Ao Qitian condensed into a solid form to surround the surroundings for defense. He brandished the metal rod in his hand and smashed it directly at the flaming giant. Boom! Another terrifying collision of flesh and flesh. At this moment, the sun had already set. The flames illuminated a radius of dozens of kilometers like the sun. Ha! If you want to kill me, one of you will have to die. After a wave of impact, the masked elder's face turned slightly pale as he roared ferociously. Ah! No, no! However, at this moment, a scream suddenly came from the side. A golden light flashed past, passing through the body of the Yanmei two-headed woman. On the other side, a 10-meter-large turtle shell ruthlessly smashed into the body of the other two-headed woman. Although spreading your body apart can unleash more powerful attacks, your defense is much weaker. The Earth attribute is best at defense. You give up your advantage and accelerate your death. Prime Minister Gui's voice was heard. The 10-meter-long turtle shell was emitting earthy yellow energy and had a terrifying suction force. On top of the turtle shell, sharp earth thorns were attacking non-stop. We have no grudges with each other. Why do you want to kill us with your life? A head whose body had been chopped off shouted with a face full of unwillingness. We have no grudges with each other. But why do you want to prevent us from taking revenge? Do you think we are easy to bully? Prime Minister Gue's eyes flickered. He waved his arm, and the turtle shell emitted mountains, rivers, and trees, which pressed down on them. Boom! The turtle shell pressed down on these two bodies. They fell directly into the ocean and gave off a loud boom when they landed on the seabed. There's still one more. Prime Minister Gue looked at the flaming giant. Ao Jian pointed the tip of his sword at it. Kill! Wang Xian shouted coldly. The golden sword was a terrifying mountain peak that condensed into yellow soil in the void. It was a rod that emitted demonic aura. Kill, kill, kill. I want to kill all of you. When the red-masked elder saw Ao Jian and Prime Minister Gue killing the two-headed woman, a hint of despair and madness flashed in his eyes. He roared loudly and the flames on his body instantly turned the area within 10 kilometers into a flaming domain. However, Wang Xian and the rest did not retreat. For Celestials were attacking one at a time. Furthermore, each of them was in a situation where they were evenly matched. They were completely crushed. Boom! Wang Xian, Ao Jian, Ao Qitian, and Prime Minister Gue's attacks arrived. Flames splashed out in all directions. Tens of thousands of tons of seawater evaporated instantly and turned into mist. Following that, it condensed into clouds in the sky and the rainstorm fell instantly. The entire process did not take more than a minute. The flame giant collapsed. The red-clothed masked elder in the middle could not help but spit out blood. His eyes were dim. Roar! A metal rod with demonic flames smashed into his body. His body fell to the bottom of the sea. Phew! Wang Xian took a deep breath. He felt exhausted all over. This battle lasted for a total of about half an hour. It's really hard to kill someone whose strength has reached the level of an immortal god. It takes a lot of strength to attack two people of the same level. I even have to guard against being killed together. Wang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. With a thought, he reverted back to his human form. His entire body was covered in wounds. Each of the wounds was extremely grievous. If he were to use his dragon energy to deplete it, it would be at least a few million dragon energy. Apart from the injuries on his body, he was also extremely exhausted. Beside him, Ao Qitian was also panting heavily. The blood on his body had already covered his entire body. Most of the blood was his own. The only one who was not injured was Prime Minister Gue. The powerful earth attribute defense and the earth turtle shell on his back made his defense almost invincible. However, Prime Minister Gue had expended too much energy. The earthy yellow glow on the turtle shell was extremely dim. Xiao Xian, Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the others hurriedly flew towards Wang Xian. Tang Yinxian, who was standing on the kun, hesitated for a moment before following them. She stood on top of a pink-nosed dolphin and followed behind. Wang Xian had saved her life, causing Tang Yinxian to feel extremely complicated. She had a good impression of him when he gave her the zither. Later on, she admired the Dragon King. Later on, the Heavenly Note sect was destroyed. Then, she was saved by him today. Woo woo. At this moment, Tang Yinxian suddenly felt a throbbing and panic coming from the pink-nosed dolphin beneath her. She had felt this feeling not long ago when they were being hunted. Crisis. Chapter 685. Unnatural torrential rain fell from the sky. Every raindrop was the size of a bean. Within a radius of more than 10 kilometers, it was a completely different world from the outside world. The throbbing and panic from the pink-nosed dolphin gave Tang Yinxian a bad premonition. Sometimes, a woman's sixth sense was very terrifying. Woo-woo. The pink-nosed dolphin beneath her once again let out a panicked sound. Tang Yinxian frowned as she scanned her surroundings. Heavy rain. Other than heavy rain, it was still heavy rain. Tang Yinxian lifted her head with a blessed expression and looked towards the sky. In front of her, a waterfall of spiritual energy descended from the sky, making this place seem like a fairyland. Tang Yinxian frowned as the crisis in her heart intensified. The pink-nosed dolphin brought her to Wang Xian's side. Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, Sun Lingxiu, and the others were treating Wang Xian's injuries as they asked with concern. Everything seemed to be normal. However, the pink-nosed dolphin's throbbing was accompanied by a bad premonition in her heart. At this moment, she suddenly saw two pairs of blood-red eyes appearing in the sky. Following that, two blood-red ferocious faces appeared in the void. The ferocious faces opened their mouths, and a terrifying black energy was brewing in their mouths. Two balls of terrifying energy were aimed at Wang Xian and Prime Minister Gui. Tang Yinshuan's expression changed drastically. Be careful. A look of horror appeared on her face. She moved to the side of Wang Xian, and a water energy shield appeared in the sky. Huh! Tang Yinshuan's sudden cry stunned Wang Xian and the rest for a moment. Following that, a terrifying energy that made their hearts palpitate attacked them. Wang Xian's expression changed drastically. Heavenly voice Wuji, use your body as a zither. At this moment, he saw Tang Yinxian who was beside him as if she had transformed into a zither. She was putting up a defense above him. Wang Xian waved his arm. Whoosh! Whoosh! However, in the void, that black energy was like an aurora. In an instant, it passed through Tang Yinshuan's body and directly penetrated half of Wang Xian's body. He didn't even put up a defense. Boom! At the side, the moment Tang Yinxian reminded him, Prime Minister Gui, who had raised the turtle shell in his hand, widened his eyes. His body fell to the bottom of the sea at a terrifying speed. Fresh blood was spat out. Xiao Xian. Brother, Tang Yinxian. Lan Qingyue, Xiao Yu, and the other girls exclaimed from the side. Damn it, damn that girl. If not for her reminder, we would have killed the two of them. It doesn't matter. The two of them are already heavily injured. There are only two left. 1 minute. Let's end this quickly. At this moment, a shattering sound came from the void. Two figures came from inside. One of them was wearing a blood-red robe. His lips were blood-red, and his eyes were also red. He was a demonic middle-aged man. The other one was pitch black. He had a pair of snow-white arms, and his eyes were also blood-red. The two of them seemed to have walked out of a sea of blood, and their bodies were exuding a terrifying blood qi. At the same time, a shocking aura was emitted from their bodies. This was definitely not a strength that a lower immortal could unleash. Roar, you deserve to die. On the side, Ao Qitian saw that half of the Dragon King's body had been directly penetrated and instantly became furious. His body had actually grown to a terrifying size of about 13 meters. He held the metal rod in his hand and violently attacked the two people in the sky. You too, die. Ao Jian's body was extremely cold. He directly transformed into the body of a golden swordfish. With the sword, a golden light flashed and carried the soundless sword as he directly attacked. If you are not injured, you can still spar with us. Now! The black-clothed demonic youth's snow-white arm instantly turned pitch black. Black energy that was like an aurora instantly attacked Ao Jian. At the side, a long spear appeared in the hands of the blood-red-clothed demonic middle-aged man. The long spear was extremely blood-red. Buzz! The terrifying long spear attacked Ao Qitian. Sensing the terrifying power above, Ao Qitian and Ao Jian's expressions changed drastically. Their current strength was already less than half of their peak. Now that they had encountered two existences that were even stronger than them, they were no match for them. Ao Qitian's blood-red eyes could only passively defend as he smashed heavily towards the spear. Boom! Pa! The terrifying blood-red spear collided with Ao Qitian's metal rod and actually instantly broke it. This caused Ao Qitian's expression to change drastically. The metal rod was something he had once obtained in the ocean. It was extremely hard and was a grade 13 material. It could completely be used to create a grade 13 spirit tool, a spirit tool used by immortals and deities. Although this metal rod was only a body, in Ao Qitian's hands, it was stronger and more solid than a grade 12 spirit tool. However, today, under the attack of the long spear, it actually directly broke. Ao Qitian's palm cracked, and blood gushed out wildly. His body also fell into the sea at a terrifying speed. Boom! On the side, a dense black light and the dazzling gold collided. The two waves of energy were in a stalemate in the void, as if the world had been divided into two. What a terrifying sword principle! However, the demonic middle-aged man in blood-red clothes saw Ao Jian blocking his attack, and his arm shook. A blood-red bow appeared in his hand. He pulled at the void and said, "Ghost-devouring arrow." Whoosh! A ferocious demon shot out from the blood-red bow and instantly landed on Ao Jian's body. Boom! The terrifying force caused Ao Jian's blood to splatter in all directions as he fell into the sea. Kiki, 7 immortal-level corpses. This is great, this is simply great. Haha, that divine dragon general is my mount. The blood-red glow in the eyes of the middle-aged man in black was abnormally demonic. He laughed out loud and directly grabbed at Wang Xian. The blood-red middle-aged man was also filled with excitement as he dived downwards. He flew towards the place where Prime Minister Gui had fallen. Xiao Xian. Wang Xian heard the voices of Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the others. He was slightly dazed and his entire body was abnormally weak. This was the last time he was injured. It was even a threat to his life. He saw Ao Qitian and Ao Jian being severely injured in the ocean. Wang Xian turned his head and saw that Tang Yinxian, who had been penetrated by the black energy, was almost dead. His heart ached slightly. His gaze swept past Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the other girls at the side. A hint of blood flashed in his eyes. Wait for my resurrection. He growled and raised his head to look at the two demonic middle-aged men in the sky. Roar, you deserve to die. Wang Xian instantly transformed into the body of the 5 elements divine dragon. Although he was now in an extremely dilapidated state, there was an additional bloodlust and fierceness. Buzz. The 5-colored radiance on Wang Xian's body intensified. A resplendent green sword that was 100 meters long appeared in the void. The sword was extremely green. The moment the green sword appeared, the middle part of Wang Xian's body dissipated. Only the dragon bones were connected. Chapter 686. Buzz. Wang Xian's body trembled again. His dragon whiskers collapsed and dissipated. His dragon head had almost turned into a skull. The terrifying flames landed directly on the emerald green longsword. The longsword was emitting a brilliant glow. In an instant, the emerald green longsword turned into a flaming longsword. Wood makes fire. Buzz. Wang Xian took another while. The dragon scales on his body dissipated immediately. An earthy yellow energy covered the flaming longsword directly. Fire generates earth. Buzz. The dragon claws disappeared quickly. The rich gold landed on the earth sword. Earth generates gold. Buzz. Finally, Wang Xian's tail turned into an azure blue light and entered the golden sword directly. Gold generates water. It was a water sword, an azure blue water sword. The water sword was still about 100 meters long. However, this azure blue radiance seemed to carry the entire ocean. It was as though the entire space had this azure blue long sword as the center of the world. It was as though there was only this resplendent azure blue water sword in the entire world. The extreme blue flashed past. Not good. Wood begets fire, fire begets earth, earth begets gold, and gold begets water. The 5 attributes were mutually reinforcing. When Wang Xian used all the dragon qi in his body to unleash his attacks, he would be able to use all the dragon qi in his body. Under the circumstance of mutually reinforcing, he would be able to obtain a terrifying upgrade. Whoosh! Whoosh! The terrifying blue longsword pointed at the starry sky and disappeared into the horizon. Ah! Damn it! 2 agonizing screams were heard. In the sky, the 2 demonic middle-aged men were cut in half by the lazy waste. They stuck the 2 halves of their bodies together in horror. Both of their faces were filled with fear. Damn it, damn the divine dragon. The demonic middle-aged man in black clothes let out a ferocious roar. Xiao Xian! Brother! From below, the miserable cries of Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the others could be heard. Seeing Wang Xian's miserable state, tears instantly flowed out of his eyes. Dragon King! The furious roars of the members of the Dragon Palace could be heard from the surroundings. Ao Qitian, Ao Jian, and Prime Minister Gui came out of the sea. They stared at the 2 people in the sky with blood-red eyes and attacked them without any hesitation. Damn girls, damn divine dragons! The 2 demonic middle-aged men roared indignantly when they saw Ao Qitian and Prime Minister Gui attacking them. Just you wait. Just you wait. When the Yu Ding appears, we will take your bodies and make you our slaves. The 2 demonic middle-aged men roared ferociously. Their bodies moved and entered the crack in the void. Just you wait for me. We will take your corpses very soon. The fearful roars came from another world. Wang Xian only had a sliver of life left in his dragonbone body. He stared coldly at the void and said, "Very soon, I will look for you. Very soon, I will look for you." Crack! 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 The void fissure closed. Roar! Ao Qitian looked ahead and revealed a furious expression. His terrifying claws clawed at the void. The void fissure appeared again. Qitian, stop. Let's see the Dragon King first. Prime Minister Gui shouted at Ao Qitian with a pale face. Roar! 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 Ao Qitian thumped his chest and looked at their Dragon King. Bang! Xiao Xian! Brother! Wang Xian's body fell into the sea. He was only left with his bones and had lost all signs of life. Lan Qingyue and the rest flew over and caught Wang Xian's huge dragon bones. Their faces were filled with tears. Dragon King! Prime Minister Gui and the rest of the members of the Dragon Palace also had a drastic change in expression. Buzz! Prime Minister Gui waved his arm and a 5-colored origin stone appeared in his hand. 3 dragon balls slowly flew out from Wang Xian's body. Return to the Dragon Palace immediately. The Dragon King can still be resurrected. Prime Minister Gui quickly said. Yes, yes. The soul-returning wood. With the soul-returning wood, little immortal can still be resurrected. Lan Qingyue and the rest quickly came to their senses. They wiped the tears from their faces and said anxiously. Woo woo, woo woo. However, sorrowful sounds came from the side. Ao Qitian was hugging Wang Xian's dragon bone. They turned around and saw 200 to 300 dolphins gathered around. In the middle, Tang Yinshuan's body was being lifted up. Streams of sound waves entered Tang Yinchuan's chest. There was a hole the size of a bowl. The terrifying black energy instantly penetrated her chest, and a large piece of her flesh disappeared. Tang Yinxian was only at the Xiantian level. Such a terrifying injury was enough to kill her instantly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment, the 4 pink-nosed dolphins surrounding Tang Yinxian suddenly emitted a special sound wave. The 4 pink-nosed dolphins were emitting a pink light, which gradually entered Tang Yinchuan's body. The pink color on the 4 pink-nosed dolphins slowly disappeared and turned into the same color as the ordinary dolphins. Huh? Prime Minister Gui revealed a surprised expression. Bring this lady and these dolphins. Dragon Queen, we have to rush back immediately. Yes, we have to go back immediately and take the 3 immortal gods' bodies with us. Lan Qingyue and the others nodded quickly. Occupy this place. Prime Minister Gui ordered Ao Yeka of the Dragon Protection Department. The others did not ride on the Kuan. Instead, Prime Minister Gui brought them to the Dragon Palace with the power of the immortal gods. In less than 5 minutes, they arrived at the Dragon Palace. Put the Dragon King's dragon bone into the dragon pool. Prime Minister Gui said to Ao Qitian immediately. Yes. Ao Qitian held the dragon bone and put it into the dragon pool. At this moment, there was not much dragon blood in the dragon pool. The revival of the group of draconids and the golden swordfish clan had consumed a lot of dragon blood. The dragon blood in the dragon pool did not support the revival of Wang Xian at all. Throw the corpses of the 3 immortals into the dragon pool. Prime Minister Gui stood beside the dragon pool and said with a solemn face. Yes. The corpses of the snake-masked elder and the 2-headed woman were placed beside the dragon pool. Walala. The corpses of the 3 immortals were slowly absorbed by the dragon pool. Golden dragon blood that emitted a terrifying energy flowed out from the mouths of the 9 divine dragon pillars. Prime Minister Gui waved his arm and threw the 5 elements origin stone into the dragon pool. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At the dragon throne, the soul-returning wood emitted a gray light as a dragon-shaped soul fruit slowly condensed. Prime Minister Gui, can the little immortal be resurrected like this? Lan Qingyue and the other girls stood at the side and did not dare to disturb him. When they saw that the arrangement was done, they asked anxiously. Dragon Queen, as long as we have enough energy, the Dragon King can be resurrected. It's us who failed to protect the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui said as he knelt down in front of Lan Qingyue and the others. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian also knelt down. With the soul-returning wood, the Dragon King can be resurrected. However, the Dragon King has condensed thousands of dragon qi. It will take a lot of energy to resurrect him. I wonder if the energy of the 3 immortals can resurrect the Dragon King. Also, I don't know how long it will take for the Dragon King to be resurrected. We need to gather energy for the Dragon King now. Chapter 687. Lan Qingyue, Sun Lingxiu, A Jiaya and Elder Fan were extremely anxious, but they had no other way. Coming back from the dead was a very heaven-defying matter. If Wang Xian didn't have the ancestral tree and the 2 heaven-defying treasures, the soul-returning wood, coming back from the dead was simply a legend. They could only ask Prime Minister Gui anxiously and wait. The soul-returning wood has already grown the soul of the Dragon King. What we need now is the dragon blood and the energy of the 3 immortals. Prime Minister Gui's eyes sparkled. He turned to Ao Jian and Ao Qitian and said, let's recuperate for a while. We will go to the chaotic sea area later and hunt down the devil fish king. Okay. Ao Qitian and Ao Jian nodded, and their eyes were cold. Should we go to other unknown sea areas and kill immortal-level creatures? Look again. The Dragon King's dragon bone hasn't disappeared, and the 5 elements origin hasn't either. The energy of 4 immortal-level creatures should be about the same. Prime Minister Gue looked hesitant. If it doesn't work, we'll take the risk and kill other immortal-level creatures. Prime Minister Gue, if we have enough energy, how long will it take for my brother to be resurrected? Xiao Yu asked while pulling Prime Minister Gue's arm. Grand Princess, if we have enough energy, it will take at most a month to be resurrected. Prime Minister Gui slowly stood up. Dragon Queen, Grand Princess, I need to make some preparations first. You go, Prime Minister Gue. Lan Qingyue and the others quickly said. Brother. Xiao Yu looked at the dragon pool and could not help but cry again. Xiao Yu, don't cry. At that time, Xiao Xian had already considered that she would die and that she could be resurrected, so we don't have to worry. A few girls stood by the dragon pool with slightly red eyes and waited quietly. Prime Minister Gue came to the dragon field of the dragon palace and looked at the dolphins and Tang Yinxian who were floating in the air. The pink light surrounded the dolphins, which was quite unbelievable. After the dolphins learned how to cultivate, they seemed to have awakened a very special energy. After the girl's body was pierced through and her life force dissipated, she was surrounded by a sound wave. It's completely opposite to the effects of the soul-returning wood. The soul-returning wood absorbs and protects. This pink energy contains a powerful life force. Perhaps, under the treatment of these dolphins, she can be resurrected. Prime Minister Gue stood there and looked, his face full of surprise. This group of dolphins had easily jumped over the dragon gate and even brought Tang Yinxian in. He was somewhat shocked. The rest of the aquatic species that leaped over the dragon gate were all desperately charging towards the dragon palace. However, they were very easy to do. In the future, this group of dolphins might even be a powerful subordinate of the dragon palace. Prime Minister Gue moved his body and entered the dragon cave to recuperate from his injuries. Are they dead? Should I wait for resurrection? Wang Xian felt his consciousness gathering in a hazy manner. When he realized that he had appeared on the soul-returning wood on the dragon throne, he heaved a sigh of relief. Just as he had expected, the soul-returning wood was extremely powerful. Wang Xian had no choice but to exhaust his body and fight with the two demonic middle-aged men. If he had not used up all his energy to launch the strongest attack and repel the two men, they would have been truly finished. With the terrifying strength of the two demonic middle-aged men, they would definitely be annihilated in their original state. By then, after all the experts of the Dragon Palace had died, he wouldn't be able to resurrect even if he wanted to. At that time, the strongest attack that he had unleashed was the best choice. People from the Yuding world, just you wait. Endless killing intent surged in Wang Xian's heart. As long as I resurrect, even if you don't appear in the world, I will enter your world and turn the sky and earth upside down. And Tang Yinxian. Wang Xian was stunned. When he recalled how Tang Yinxian used her strongest defense to block the black energy back then, the killing intent in his heart became even stronger. If she had not reminded him back then and did not face the black light, he was afraid that the attack would have already killed him and Prime Minister Gue. The consequences of his and Prime Minister Gue's death would also mean the destruction of the Dragon Palace. I will avenge you. Wang Xian mumbled. He looked around and could sense a radius of 10 meters around him. He couldn't sense anything further away. Shu Qing. Wang Xian looked towards the dragon throne and revealed a smile. Eh. At this moment, Wang Xian revealed a surprised expression. In his soul state, he could see Guan Shuqing's body and her soul. However, what surprised Wang Xian was that there were two gray dots of light in Guan Shuqing's body. Both dots of light were extremely dim. Does everyone's soul have two dots of light? Shuqing's vitality is already very strong, but she didn't wake up. Could it be related to these dim dots of light? Could it be that the strength of the soul is too weak and couldn't support this strong body, so she couldn't wake up? Wang Xian was bewildered. He didn't expect that he would discover the reason why Shu Qing couldn't wake up. Time passed slowly. The next day, Prime Minister Gui and Ao Jian and Ao Qitian walked out of the Dragon Palace. Half a day later, they brought over the body of the Devilfish King. In the dragon pool, after the 10-meter-long dragon bone absorbed the dragon cave in the dragon pool, flesh and blood began to grow. At this speed, the Dragon King's body will be fully recovered in half a month. Prime Minister Gui stood beside the dragon pool and said thoughtfully, "Is there enough energy?" Sun Lingxiu frowned and asked Prime Minister Gui. "I'm not sure." Prime Minister Gui shook his head slowly and suddenly had an idea. "Dragon Queen, I'm going to get something." As he spoke, he moved and arrived at a cave on the surrounding mountains. The jellyfish corpses that were emitting crystal light were piled inside. They were immortal jellyfish, level 11 immortal jellyfish. Their bodies were immortal matter, a very precious thing. All creatures want to evolve towards immortality, and the divine dragon will eventually go in that direction. This immortal matter is an enormous energy. Back then, the Dragon King was prepared to use it to create an immortal jellyfish race, but now it seems that there's no need. The eternal material dragon pool can't absorb it, but it can use endless wood to completely melt it. The endless wood was a different type of eternal tree. It had endless flames that would never be extinguished, and it was similar to the eternal material. The level of the endless wood was obviously higher than the eternal jellyfish, so it should be able to melt it. If the eternal material was used to condense the Dragon King's body, it could make the Dragon King's strength and recovery power a terrifying increase. Chapter 688. Huh. Just as Wang Xian was immersed in his own world, he sensed the arrival of Prime Minister Gui and looked over curiously. Pa! When he came to the bottom of the dragon throne, Prime Minister Gui saw the soul fruit of Wang Xian and knelt down on the ground. He bowed and placed the body of the eternal jellyfish under the eternal wood. Sizzle! 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 The flames emitted by the endless wood were not that terrifying. When held in one's hand, there would only be a kind of heat. It would not cause much harm to the person. However, when the body of the eternal jellyfish was placed under the wood, the sound of burning could be heard. Prime Minister Gui moved his arm and a huge earthy yellow bowl appeared in his hand. He then placed the immortal substance into the bowl. Each immortal jellyfish had a body size of dozens of meters. All the immortal jellyfish had melted about 2 to 3 tons of liquid. The liquid emitted a milky white glow and contained a special energy. As expected, the indestructible immortal substance will be burned under the endless wood. A gleam flashed across Prime Minister Gui's eyes. After melting all the immortal jellyfish, he bowed to Wang Xian's soul fruit once again. Wang Xian looked at Prime Minister Gui with a satisfied expression on his face. Once he became a member of the Dragon Palace, he would have 100% loyalty and no second thoughts. This was very important to the development of the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Gui plucked Wang Xian's soul fruit and went to the dragon pool. Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue and the rest stood there and waited quietly. Eldest Princess, Dragon Queen. Prime Minister Gui nodded at them. Then, he moved his body and placed Wang Xian's soul fruit on the dragon's head. Buzz! When the soul fruit entered the dragon pool, Wang Xian instantly felt that he could sense his own body. Crash! Following that, the immortal material was placed into the dragon pool. The immortal material was a special energy. Even the dragon pool could not convert it into dragon blood. It could only be absorbed directly. Phew, I can finally control my own body. Wang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. With a thought, he activated the divine dragon transformation immediately. The surrounding dragon blood gushed into his body crazily. Wang Xian was like a sponge, absorbing all kinds of energy crazily. The Dragon King is resurrecting. Prime Minister Gui heaved a sigh of relief when he saw the energy in Wang Xian's body in the dragon pool. He spoke to Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the rest. It might not take more than a month for little immortal to be resurrected. Lan Qingyue and the rest saw the changes in the dragon pool, and their worries were also relieved. Eldest princess, dragon queen, I'll go take care of the matters in the dragon palace first. Prime Minister Gui bade farewell and left. With a flash, he came to the dragon cave. He looked ahead and checked on Tang Yinxian, who was floating in the dragon field. Then, he called Ao Jian and Ao Qitian to swim down the spiritual energy waterfall. Soon, when they arrived, the bottom of the spiritual waterfall was filled with countless aquatic creatures. They stayed quietly at the bottom of the sea and absorbed the spiritual energy. Besides the aquatic creatures, all the members of the Dragon Palace were also cultivating there. Prime Minister Gui looked satisfied. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian, you guys guard the surroundings. These aquatic creatures are the foundation of our Dragon Palace. We must ensure that their cultivation will not be disturbed. Don't worry, Prime Minister Gui. Leave it to us. Ao Qitian patted his chest and promised. Okay. Prime Minister Gui glanced around. The appearance of this spiritual energy waterfall can shorten the development process of the aquatic creatures around the Dragon Palace by 80 to 90 years. It won't take long for the aquatic civilization to be established. It seems that we have to nurture the civil officials as soon as possible. Prime Minister Gui muttered to himself. He took out a book and a pen from his interspatial ring and began to plan for the future development of the aquatic creatures as well as the establishment of the underwater order after the appearance of the civil officials. Time passed slowly. The vitality of Wang Xian in the dragon pool grew stronger and stronger. The body of the divine dragon was growing slowly. The tremendous energy of the 4 immortal god corpses, coupled with the special energy of the undead matter. Within 10 days, Wang Xian's 10-meter-long body had completely recovered. However, 1/3 of the dragon blood in the dragon pool had yet to be absorbed. 12 days later, Wang Xian's body had grown to around 13 meters. Almost all of the dragon blood in the dragon pool had been absorbed. Beside the dragon pool, Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the rest looked at Wang Xian, who was lying in the dragon pool nervously. Their faces were filled with anticipation. Welcome back, Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui, who was at the side, revealed a smile on his face. He knelt on the ground respectfully and said to Wang Xian, who was in the dragon pond. Roar! A faint dragon roar came from Wang Xian's mouth. He opened his eyes slowly and a 5-colored light flashed past. Xiao Xian. Brother. When Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the other girls saw that Wang Xian had woken up, their eyes were filled with excitement. Wang Xian looked at them and smiled. His body floated up slowly as he slowly adapted to his body. His 13-meter-tall body was about 3 meters larger than before he died. A terrifying energy was transmitted from his body. Wang Xian felt that his body had undergone some special changes. The defense and recovery speed of my body has at least doubled. Although my offensive power has not increased, my current self is much stronger than before. Based on my cultivation base, I should be a middle-level immortal. If I were to face those 2 demonic middle-aged men again, would definitely have the strength to fight them. I might even be able to suppress them. His dragon god body's defense was already very terrifying. Now that his defense had doubled, it was a qualitative change. This time, even if he were to take the demonic middle-aged man's attack head-on, he would at most be slightly injured. Wang Xian's body moved and flew to the side of the dragon pool. His body moved and transformed into human form. Brother. Xiao Xian. A few girls hugged him with their eyes slightly red. Wang Xian smiled at them and patted their backs. He wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and said, "What are you worried about? I told you guys in advance to wait for my resurrection. Even if we knew, we would still be worried." Xiao Yu hugged Wang Xian's arm and said with tears of joy. All right. Isn't this all right? Wang Xian comforted the 5 girls for a while before walking towards Prime Minister Gui. Dragon King. You've worked hard these few days. I've worked hard for the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui smiled. How are things under the spiritual energy waterfall now? Wang Xian nodded and asked. Don't worry, Dragon King. Everything is in good order. Prime Minister Gui followed beside Wang Xian and walked into the Dragon King's palace. Where is Tang Yinchuan's body? Has she been buried, or? Wang Xian was silent for a while and asked Prime Minister Gui with a heavy heart. Dragon King, Miss Tang's current situation is very special. Please follow me. Prime Minister Gui said to Wang Xian. Wang Xian was slightly stunned and looked at Prime Minister Gui in surprise. Chapter 689. Dragon King, look over there. Prime Minister Gui pointed to the front. Wang Xian looked ahead and his expression changed. He moved and appeared directly in the dragon field. He looked at Tang Yinxian, who was surrounded by a type of dolphin, and a hint of surprise flashed across his eyes. Wang Xian walked slowly towards her and came in front of her. He looked at the position of Tang Yinchuan's chest. At this moment, the injuries there had completely disappeared. Her entire body was emitting a pink glow. She was lying there like a young girl with a pink element, making her look exceptionally attractive. What's going on? She clearly. Wang Xian's eyes were sparkling as he stared at the dolphins around him. He was full of smiles. It's good that she's not dead. It's good that she's not dead. You saved our lives. Wang Xian heaved a heavy sigh of relief and walked towards her slowly. When the dolphins saw Wang Xian walking over, they took the initiative to open a path for him. Wang Xian walked to Tang Yinchuan's side and looked at her body. He reached out his hand and couldn't help but touch her face. A smile appeared on his face. I knew it. I knew he was a scumbag. A pervert. In the Dragon King's bedroom, 5 girls were standing on the stage and looking at the dragon field. Lan Qingyue couldn't help but snort coldly when she saw this scene. Sun Lingxiu smiled faintly. Speaking of which, Tang Yinxian can be considered to have saved our lives. Sigh. Ajaya sighed and shook her head. Xiao Yu stuck out his tongue. In the past, I decided to find a boyfriend only like my brother. In the future, I will definitely not find someone like him. If I want to find someone, I must find someone who can't beat me. That way, he won't bully me and will do whatever I want. As she said this, a figure suddenly appeared in her mind and she couldn't help but smile. Xiao Yu, looking at how happy you are, do you have someone in mind? Lan Qingyue saw Xiao Yu's somewhat familiar smile and sized her up from head to toe. How is this possible? Xiao Yu was stunned and quickly shook his head. Really? Why do I feel like you have someone in your heart? Lan Qingyue said with a smile. How is this possible? I haven't met my Prince Charming yet. Impossible, this is impossible. Xiao Yu shook his head hard and firmly denied it. Xiao Yu, you're already 21 years old. You can find a boyfriend now. Sister-in-law, you should take good care of my brother now. It's not good to have too many sister-in-law. You guys are enough. You little girl. Create a dragon cave for her by the side. Let her stay in the dragon cave and wait for her to recover. Wang Xian turned around slowly and said to Prime Minister Gui. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui nodded his head. Also, call Ao Jian, Ao Qitian, and the strange demon clan over. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he spoke again. Dragon King, are you going to? Prime Minister Gui hesitated for a moment before asking. I'm going to kill my way into that world. Wang Xian's eyes were cold as he spoke. His eyes were filled with killing intent. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui felt a chill in his heart. He immediately nodded his head and walked out. The ancestral tree has acknowledged me as its master. In the future, I will have the insane ability to resurrect endlessly. However, resurrecting requires a huge amount of energy to reconstruct my physical body. The stronger I am, the more dragon blood I will need to resurrect. In the future, it will be extremely difficult to resurrect me. I might not even be able to support myself to resurrect. This time, even if the two demonic middle-aged men wanted to defeat us, it would be difficult for them to kill us. Every 9 cauldrons world will have rich resources. There, I will make use of the resources in that world to elevate Ao Yao to the immortal god realm. When that happens, I will turn the 9 cauldrons world upside down. Wang Xian was a person who would always seek revenge for his flaws. When the two demonic middle-aged men ambushed them, both parties were already at a stalemate. That Wang Xian would not wait for them to come to him. Instead, he would go to the 9 cauldrons world to look for them. Chapter 690. Ding. Do you want to build the sea pacifying needle? Level 1 sea pacifying needle requires 1 ton of level 13 materials and 3 tons of level 12 materials. After comforting Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue, and the rest, Wang Xian went to the location of the sea pacifying needle. The sea pacifying needle could be taken away. The main function of the needle was to stabilize the calm within a 100-kilometer radius of the Dragon Palace. Even if there was a tsunami, it would calm down once it arrived here. When I first built the Dragon Palace, I only needed a little bit of materials. It was completely a blessing. Now, I need a lot of materials to build a sea pacifying needle. Wang Xian looked at the huge sea pacifying needle and looked at the materials in his interspatial ring. With all the materials in my interspatial ring and the metal rod in Ao Qitian's hand, I can create a sea pacifying needle. Wang Xian thought to himself. Then, he asked Ao Qitian to bring over his broken metal rod. This time, he had to be fully prepared when he entered another world. Ao Qitian's weapon had to be at least a good one. Ding! Do you want to create a sea pacifying needle? When all the materials were ready, the system's voice sounded. Confirmed. Boom. 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 Beside the first ocean pacifying needle, another huge ocean pacifying needle slowly appeared. The ocean pacifying needle was 5 meters thick and 200 meters tall. Wang Xian stretched out his hand and held the ocean pacifying needle. Shrink. Buzz. The ocean pacifying needle instantly shrunk and turned into a 2-meter-long golden cudgel. The words, ocean pacifying needle, in gold were very obvious. A level 1 ocean pacifying needle is comparable to an immortal level weapon. Wang Xian waved his arm and threw it at Ao Qitian. This ocean pacifying needle is a gift for you. Thank you, Dragon King. A burning look flashed across Ao Qitian's eyes as he caressed the ocean pacifying needle with a face full of love. Big. With a flick of his arm, the ocean pacifying needle expanded to a size of 4 meters. Ao Qitian grinned. This kind of weapon that could expand and shrink was the best weapon for him. He could even make the ocean pacifying needle grow to a size of 200 meters when he was fighting. He moved his body excitedly and flew toward the dragon field. He was prepared to wave it around. Ao Qitian is the only one in the entire Dragon Palace who has a weapon at the level of an immortal god. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. The sword in his hand was still a level 12 spiritual weapon. He did not know how to forge a level 13 spiritual weapon because it involved a formation. Hence, he had to engrave a formation on the weapon. Due to the formation, the ocean pacifying divine needle could become bigger and smaller. Currently, the wood dragon bead and the fire dragon bead still require at least a year of nurturing before they can be upgraded to the level of an immortal god. The water dragon bead is only level 12. It's still a little lacking to upgrade it to level 13. I don't have the gold dragon bead and the earth dragon bead at the moment. Wang Xian looked at his 3 dragon bead weapons and had a thought. Name, Wang Xian. Race, 5 elements divine dragon, able to transform into a human. Level 9. Dragon energy, 19,000, 3421/10,000,000,000. Supernatural ability, ruling the water tribe below one's own level. Devouring creatures to extract dragon chi. Control of the 5 elements. Cultivation method, divine dragon transformation. Fire refining technique, using the fire of origin to refine everything. Water refining technique, using the water refining technique to refine things for fun. Battle skills, water clone, elementary, blade storm, intermediate, instant water, elementary. After this revival, my dragon energy has increased by more than 10 million. However, I'm still 800 million away from leveling up. The next morning, Wang Xian, Ao Qitian, Ao Jian, and the rest of the mysterious clan stood in the air. They stared at the sky with cold expressions. Xiao Xian, you have to be careful. Brother, be careful. Don't let me and my sisters-in-law worry. Below, Xiao Yu, Lan Qingyue and the rest raised their heads to look at Wang Xian and instructed him loudly. Don't worry. You guys wait for me here. Wang Xian nodded at them and took a deep breath. Red and blue light flickered in his eyes. The formation is not activated yet. We will definitely be injured after entering. We have to find a place to recover from our injuries first. Wang Xian instructed them. It's the Dragon King. A group of more than 100 members of the Dragon Palace replied to Wang Xian. Alright, let's charge in. Killing intent flashed in Wang Xian's eyes. He stared at a spot where the formation was weak. With a wave of his arm, a crack was torn open. Go in. Ao Jian shouted loudly. The strange demons quickly entered the formation. Following Ao Jian and Ao Qitian, they tore through space and entered the formation. Crack. 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 The terrifying attack of the formation instantly arrived. The stronger the person was, the stronger the attack of the formation would be when he entered. Those at the immortal level could protect those at the infant and Dan stage from entering, but they could not allow Wang Xian to enter safely. Hiss. The attack of the formation instantly caused many wounds on their bodies, causing Wang Xian's expression to change slightly. In just a split second, another piece of sky appeared in Wang Xian's sight. In a sea area, there were numerous islands. There were many strange black birds flying in the sky. The black birds looked like crows. They had blood-red eyes as they scanned the area below them ferociously. The buildings on the islands were mainly black. Even the seawater below was a little black, causing the entire sea area to be filled with a gloomy feeling. It did not look like the fairyland in the Yongchang world. Wang Xian and the rest of them moved and went straight to the sea below. Ao Yao, lead your clansmen to investigate the surroundings first. Wang Xian and Ao Jian sat cross-legged at the bottom of the sea to recover from their injuries. They ordered the strange demon clan to investigate the surroundings. With the strange demon clan's terrifying concealment ability, even an immortal god-level existence would not be able to detect them if they did not use their full strength. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao nodded his head. He waved his hand at the group of people and immediately dispersed to his surroundings. Phew. 2 days later, Wang Xian opened his eyes. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian, who were at the side, also stood up slowly. In these 2 days, not a single living creature has appeared around us. Wang Xian stood up and looked ahead. According to his senses, there were no living creatures. The entire seabed was like a dead zone, emitting a terrifying atmosphere. Dragon King, the demonic middle-aged man who attacked us back then cultivated a strange cultivation technique. It should belong to the demonic path. Ao Jian said in a deep voice. Yes. Wang Xian nodded. Ao Yao is here. Dragon King. At this moment, figures appeared in front of them one by one. Have you investigated everything? Wang Xian asked. I have a rough idea of this world. This world is called the Yuding world. There are only 2 million living people in the entire world. The Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao are the 2 immortal sects that rule this world. According to our understanding, in the past, there were 3 immortal sects in this world with a population of 10 million. The other immortal sect was destroyed by the collaboration of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao. Besides the 2 million living people, there were also nearly 10 million dead puppets. The whole world was like a demonic domain. Chapter 691. Dead Puppet? Wang Xian looked at Ao Yao in astonishment and asked. Yes, Dragon King. They can control and refine corpses, making them their subordinates and weapons. Ao Yao replied. In that case, the 2 demonic middle-aged men are from the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he asked. Yes, there are 6 immortals in this world. Each immortal sect has 3. Ao Yao said solemnly. 6. A hint of solemnity flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. If all 6 immortals were to attack, they would be able to kill them. However, they were in the dark while the enemy was in the light. How many islands are there? Wang Xian looked into the distance and asked in a deep voice. There are a total of 8 islands with humans living on them. The 2 largest islands in the middle are the ones inhabited by the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and the Immortal God Corpse Chief Dao. Ao Yao reported to Wang Xian. In that case, the rest of the people are living on the other 6 islands. The corner of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. Let's go and take a look. Dragon King, these are the clothes of their world. Regardless of gender, they have protected themselves very well. Ao Yao took out a few pieces of black and blood-red clothes. They were similar to the clothes of the devilish middle-aged man. The blood-red clothes represent the Jade Hand sect while the black clothes represent the Corpse Chief path. Perfect. Wang Xian looked at the clothes and draped them over his body. Ao Qitian also wrapped a piece of clothes around himself, revealing only 2 eyes. Let's go. Wang Xian moved his body and flew towards an island in front of him. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian were on either side of him. As for the strange demons, they completely concealed themselves. It's similar to the ancient times. Wang Xian and the rest came to the edge of an island and looked ahead. There were many ancient buildings. The entire island was about 30 to 40 miles in circumference. In the middle was a street with shops around it. There were not many people on the street. Most of them were wearing blood-red and black clothes. Only a few of them were wearing white clothes. White meant that they had not joined the 2 immortal sections. When he came to the street, he realized that it was very quiet inside. The people around him seldom spoke. Stepping on the black bricks gave him an uncomfortable feeling. Wang Xian looked at the shops around him and saw a weapons shop. He gestured to Ao Qitian and Ao Jian before walking inside. As soon as he entered the shop, Wang Xian saw a woman dressed in revealing and cold clothes standing by the door. The woman's face was extremely pale and had a pretty face. However, Wang Xian could not sense any signs of life from her. His expression changed slightly. This was a puppet, a dead person. Take a look at what you want. At this moment, a cold voice came from inside. Veteran, have you finished forging my spiritual weapon? At this moment, a haughty voice came from outside. A young man dressed in blood-red clothes walked in with his head slightly raised. Behind him were two middle-aged men who were exuding a strong murderous aura. He was only dressed in a blood-red robe. His face was not concealed at all, revealing his uniqueness. Young Master Shui, the spiritual weapon has been forged for you. An old man stood up from inside. With a smile on his face, he took out an exquisite box and placed it on the table. Wang Xian looked at the box and narrowed his eyes slightly. A grade 12 material. It was actually a grade 12 material. The young man walked over and opened the box. A black longsword was held in his hand. Not bad, not bad. The young man looked satisfied. As expected of the hands of a grandmaster. Here, 100 blood coagulation pills for the dance stage. A jade bottle was thrown over. The old man opened it and looked at it. He looked delighted. Young Master Shui, after the last day of business, we won't be doing it anymore. Oh. Why not? The cauldron of you is about to appear. High-quality weapons are in short supply. The young man looked at the old man curiously. Young Master Shui, after the cauldron of you appears, this blood coagulation pill won't be worth much anymore. Moreover, the materials I have will be worth a lot. The old man said with a smile. That's true. When our 9 cauldrons appear, it will be the time for us to wreak havoc in the world. Young Master Mingxue, who was established by the immortal god, should have the strength to join us, right? Of course. When the cauldron of you appears, Mingsha will shock the heavens. Kiki, when the time comes, the heavens will allow us to fly freely. The young man and the old man conversed without any scruples, especially the young man in blood-red clothes. His face was filled with arrogance. When Wang Xian heard their conversation, the red and blue light in his eyes swept across the surroundings. A trace of shock and killing intent flashed past. The spiritual artifacts on the surrounding walls were all forged using crude methods. A level 12 material to forge a level 11 weapon. This was not a weapon forging technique, but a forging technique. There were more than a dozen level 12 spiritual weapons in this weapon shop. These were all level 13 materials. If one knew about formations, they could definitely forge immortal spiritual weapons. What filled Wang Xian with killing intent was the blood-clotting pill in the jade bottle. The so-called blood-clotting pill was not a medicinal pill. Instead, it was a kind of medicinal pill that was formed by condensing the flesh and blood of living beings or even humans using a special method. Consuming this blood-clotting pill would naturally increase the energy. No wonder there aren't any living beings in the ocean of the island. It turns out that all of them have been refined into blood-clotting pills. What a crazy world. Wang Xian's eyes were cold. With a wave of his arm, the door of the shop was shut. Huh? The old man and the young man were stunned. They immediately looked at Wang Xian. Who told you to close the door? The young man shouted coldly and slowly pulled out his spiritual sword. An ordinary disciple, whose subordinate? Wang Xian slowly took off his hat and waved his arm at the 2 middle-aged men behind the young man. Boom! A flame landed on the 2 of them, rendering them silent. When the young man and the old man saw Wang Xian's attack, their expressions changed drastically. Flame, fire attribute. Who are you? Ah! At this moment, the puppet lady who had been standing at the door suddenly pulled out a dagger and stabbed at them ferociously. The puppet had an attack power at the dance stage. This puppet was an expert at the dance stage. Ao Jian pointed with his finger and a metal longsword smashed her head into pieces. Metal attribute. You guys are not from our world. The old man was shocked when he saw Ao Jian's attack. In the world of the Cauldron of You, there were no fire and metal attribute cultivators. There were only demon and water attributes. Do you guys know these 2 people? Wang Xian stared at them coldly. With a wave of his arm, the images of the two demonic middle-aged men appeared in the void. This is. The two of them swept their gaze over and their faces turned gloomy immediately. They stared at them with flickering eyes. Who is this? Ao Qitian waved his arm and his hairy palm grabbed the necks of the young man and the old man as he asked in a stern tone. Chapter 692. These are our Lord Snow Demon and Lord Blood Arrow. Who are you and what do you want to do? The young man was grabbed by Ao Qitian's neck. His face was flushed red as he growled in a low voice. Which immortal sect are they from? Wang Xian asked coldly. Lord Snow Demon is the sect master of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect while Lord Blood Arrow is the sect master of Corpse Chief Dao. Can you let me go? A hint of fear flashed across the young man's eyes as he said with a trembling body. No. Wang Xian said coldly. Ao Qitian's arm shook, and both of them fell to the ground with their eyes wide open. Wang Xian took the jade bottle from the old man's hand and opened it. The blood-clotting pills were poured out one by one, emitting a meaty fragrance. Wang Xian frowned slightly and threw them aside. He looked at the surrounding walls. There were many rough spiritual artifacts, but the materials were exceptionally precious. Especially the grade 13 materials. There are more materials in this world than in the Yongchang world. It might be because there are fewer people here. Wang Xian thought to himself. He took out an interspatial ring and kept it all with a wave of his arm. At present, he had killed quite a number of experts from the Nine Cauldrons world. There were dozens of interspatial rings in Wang Xian's hand. Any more would be able to hold it. Let's see if there are any other treasures. Wang Xian pointed to Ao Jian and Ao Qitian behind him. Then, he sat on a seat at the side and waited quietly. On the island, many strange demons were walking on the streets openly, entering every area. Even in the daytime, they were still walking unscrupulously. As long as they did not attack, they would not show themselves. Dragon King, the map of the entire island has been drawn. Every shop has recorded it. This island is under the control of Corpse Chief Dao. We found a venue in the middle. Corpse Chief Dao is selecting elites to form the Netherkill organization there. Half an hour later, Ao Yao appeared in the room and reported to Wang Xian. How are the elixirs in the elixir store on the island? Which family has more resources? Find them as soon as possible. Wang Xian instructed Ao Yao. There is a herb garden in the central area. There are many grade 5, grade 6, and grade 7 spiritual herbs in there. Ao Yao replied. Check it out first. Search all the places on the 6 islands thoroughly. There are 6 immortals here. Once we make a move, we must be absolutely confident. Wang Xian said in a deep voice. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao nodded. With a move, he disappeared. Wang Xian stood in the shop and waited quietly. After half a day, Ao Yao returned with news after news. Wang Xian did not make a move. Instead, they moved and flew towards another island. Each island was about 50 kilometers away. This Dingyu world was not smaller than the Yongchang world. However, a large area was like an ocean. Time passed day by day. Wang Xian did not make a move. The information was reported to him one by one, giving him a detailed understanding of this world. 4 days later, Wang Xian and the rest returned to the original island. He held a document in his hand. On it was the list of the Netherworld Killer Organization. At the same time, this was the most elite and core disciple of the 2 great immortal sects in the entire Yuding world. This Netherworld Killer Organization was a setup of the Yuding world. During these few days, Wang Xian had some understanding of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect and Corpse Chief Dao Immortal Sect. The Jade Hand Immortal Sect was an assassin organization in ancient times. Furthermore, it was one of the strongest assassin organizations in the Jianghu. Corpse Chief Dao, on the other hand, was a force that everyone in the Immortal sect wanted to beat up. They used the corpses of the strong as puppets to control them. The Devil Dao in the Jianghu was born from Corpse Chief Dao. Compared to the Devil Dao, they were more powerful and cruel. Now that Yu Ding was about to appear, the two immortal sects were preparing to establish the underworld killing organization, which was also known as the Assassin Organization. First, it was to intimidate the Jianghu. Second, it was to obtain huge benefits. On the information, there was a list of all the members of the underworld killing organization and their detailed residences. There are a total of more than 1,000 people, 300 nascent realm and over 1,000 elixir realm experts. They are the core force of the entire Yuding. I don't know if the Netherworld Killer or the Strange Demon is more powerful. A hint of killing intent appeared in Wang Xian's eyes. He looked ahead with a smile and his eyes were filled with coldness. Tonight, I'm preparing to attack overnight. I want to kill all the core forces of the two great immortal sections. When the time comes, the furious immortal gods will definitely search for the murderer everywhere. As long as they meet the scattered ones, they will surround and kill them. With Wang Xian and the rest's strength, they could not kill the 6 immortal gods directly. They could only scatter them and attack them one by one. In addition, send 20 strange demons to all the shops, herb gardens, and the treasure vaults of the big families. Bring all the treasures here. Wang Xian looked at Ao Yao and instructed. We will attack together with you. Wang Xian looked at Ao Jian and Ao Qitian. We must not let what happened here get out. Tonight, let this place fall asleep. It's the Dragon King. Ao Jian and Ao Qitian nodded. Boom. At this moment, the sound of thunder came from the sky. Wang Xian looked at the sky with a smile on his face. The rainstorm tonight. Even the heavens are helping us. Crash. At around 9 o'clock, the entire island quieted down. The rain poured down in torrents. There were no pedestrians on the streets and all the shops were closed. This was a cruel world. There were once more than 10 million people in this world, but only 2 million people remained because of the battle. According to the information obtained from the strange demon tribe, 10 years ago, there were still more than 10 million people in this world. However, in 10 years, there were less than 8 million people. There were 2 reasons for this. First, the resources of Yuding world had already been used up. Second, it was because of the blood solidification pill. The blood solidification pill was announced by an immortal god, and then the 4 immortal gods began to raise Gu. That's right, nurture Gu. 10 million people were used as Gu. When 10 million people fought, the ones left were the elites. They used this method to select the elites, creating the situation of hundreds of thousands of innate experts. 2 of the immortal gods were born during these 10 years. The price was that the number of people dropped to over 2 million. In the end, the immortal god gave the order to stop fighting. According to all the signs, the immortal gods here are all doing this for the appearance of the cauldron of Yu. They knew that the 9 cauldrons had appeared, so they did such a terrifying thing in order to make their subordinates stronger. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. The only sound left on the entire island was the sound of a rainstorm. Do it. Wang Xian looked at the sky and shouted softly. There was no sound in the surroundings. The aura of the strange demons had also disappeared. Wang Xian and Ao Jian also headed toward the addresses on the information. Chapter 693. In a luxurious ancient building, 4 to 5 middle-aged elders sat in the center of the hall. There was wine, meat, and wine on the table. Around them, there were guards. These guards were not living people, they were puppets. During the 10 years of Yuding nurturing Gu, brothers had turned against each other, father and son were enemies. The guards were not the most loyal, only the puppets were the most loyal subordinates. Thus, the puppets around them listened to their commands. Yu Ding will appear in half a month at most. As the leader of Underworld Assassination Team, we need to make some progress as soon as possible. With our strength and our 10 years of killing experience, when we enter the real world, even the other experts of the Nine Cauldrons world will not be able to stop us, Underworld Killer, from showing off our abilities. At that time, we will make the entire Jianghu jittery. We can't look down on the heroes of the world. I heard that Lord Snow Demon and Lord Blood Arrow were seriously injured not long ago. Yes, we don't know the exact reason for the serious injuries. However, I heard that Lord Snow Demon's maidservant said that an immortal god in the real world used up his life to launch an attack that heavily injured the two lords. Our world is too small. After we get out, we will become the kings of the darkness. The 5 middle-aged elders spoke with confidence. The appearance of the cauldron of you made them excited by the slaughter and bloodshed. They wanted to become the kings of the darkness, making everyone fear them. Pooh 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 pooh. The 5 of them raised the wine cups in their hands. However, at this moment, sharp claws entered their heads and pierced through them. Take away all the treasures. A low roar sounded as all the spirit tools were taken away one by one. In the surroundings, the puppets fell to the ground after their master died. There was a clap of thunder outside, as if a prelude had been drawn. I will fuse into the darkness and become the king of darkness. In a sturdy basement, an old man slowly walked in. His figure slowly melted into the darkness. The entire basement was pitch black, so dark that one couldn't even see their fingers. This darkness wasn't night, but was covered by demonic qi. Only existences stronger than him could see him. But only immortals and gods were stronger than him. There were more than 10 beds around him, and he had no idea where the old man was lying. You guys are really vigilant. At this moment, a sound suddenly came from the basement, making the old man who was lying on the bed feel a chill down his spine. Pooh! However, just as he was about to stand up, a water sword directly pierced through his body. How? The old man's face was full of disbelief. He was an expert who had fought his way out from the mountain of corpses, yet he was actually assassinated. There are more than 60 infant realm experts on this island. In less than an hour, we will be able to finish them all off. The 6 islands are at the exact moment of daybreak. It will be the moment when the people of this world will feel the world turning upside down. Wang Xian mumbled and disappeared into the rainy night. His body moved and he arrived at another place. At the same time, Ao Jian and Ao Qitian's bodies were also moving rapidly across the entire island. Even though Ao Qitian's physique was not good at assassination, it was a piece of cake for an immortal to assassinate an infant realm expert. They would never have imagined that the enemies that their 2 immortal masters had provoked in the real world would bring them such a terrifying disaster. This is the medicinal garden on the island. There are 5 infant realm experts guarding it. This group of infant realm experts also has 10 infant realm puppets. Wang Xian came to the location of the herb garden at the center of the island. There were 6 islands, and each island had a herb garden. A large number of herbs were planted in the herb garden. Among them, the demonic attribute pills and water attribute pills were the main ones. With a thought, Wang Xian used his water swords to kill the 5 infant stage powerhouses easily. Then, he kept the spiritual herbs into his interspatial ring. There are quite a number of grade 7 spiritual herbs. A glint flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. Although grade 7 spiritual herbs were precious, they were not of much use to immortals. Only grade 8 spiritual herbs were useful to immortals. Wang Xian moved his body and disappeared. When he arrived at the ocean, Ao Jian and Ao Qitian had already arrived. Dragon King! The 2 of them shouted. At this moment, Wang Xian sensed the energy coming from behind him. The strange demon clan had arrived. Is there anything wrong? Wang Xian asked directly. No. The strange demon shook his head. Although the people in this world are very vigilant, they return to their homes every day because of their vigilance. Not a single one of them is left behind. Alright, let's go. Wang Xian nodded his head. He looked at the other island and moved forward rapidly. With the three of them at the immortal god level, it was easy for the strange demon clan to deal with the other elixir realm experts. If the immortal god wasn't careful, he wouldn't be able to discover Wang Xian and the rest, let alone the existence of the elixir realm experts. The slaughter was going on at a terrifying speed. The core experts of the two immortal sects of the Jade Hand Immortal Sect, Corpse Chief Dao, were decreasing at a terrifying speed. One island after another passed by, and Wang Xian's 5 to 6 interspatial rings were filled up. There was a large amount of metal materials and spiritual herbs. This was especially so for metal materials. There were many spiritual artifacts in this world because more than 8 million people were killed. Many of the Dan stage experts even had level 12 spiritual artifacts in their hands. Moreover, a large portion of the spiritual artifacts were made from level 13 materials. This made Wang Xian extremely excited. With these materials, he could forge many spirit weapons. In the future, when he could inscribe formations on the spirit weapons, he could definitely forge immortal level weapons. Pooh, pooh, pooh. Wang Xian waved his arm, and the last 3 infant stage powerhouses fell to the ground. The few puppets around them fell at the same time. After putting away the grade 12 spirit weapons, Wang Xian waved his arm and left a few words on the ground. Then, he moved and flew directly toward the beach. Dragon King, Dragon King. When he arrived, Ao Jian, Ao Qitian, and the strange demon clan were already waiting for him. Let's go. Excitement flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. The group entered the water and came to a remote depth of the sea. Dragon King, these are the spiritual artifacts and spiritual herbs in the interspatial ring. Ao Yao passed more than 100 interspatial rings to Wang Xian. Most of these interspatial rings belonged to the people they assassinated. All of them were filled with treasures. The sun will be up in 2 hours. Ao Yao, let me raise your strength to the immortal realm first. A glint flashed across Wang Xian's eyes as he took out spiritual herbs from the interspatial ring. He took out all the spiritual herbs that could not be combined to refine pills and turned them into dragon energy directly. Following that, Wang Xian poured majestic dragon qi into Ao Yao's body. The immortal god, who was good at assassination, was crucial to their revenge. Whether they could kill the 2 demonic young men depended entirely on Ao Yao. The dragon spike was used to assassinate the immortal god. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.